we live? Hello and welcome to Cousins Gymnasium on the campus of Tufts University here in Medford, Massachusetts. As we got an exciting non-conference matchup for you guys today, as the Jumbo Volleyball team will wrap up their home regular season with a matchup against the Brandeis Judges just across on some of the trains that we got here in Boston. My name is Andrew Howe. Thank you for joining us here on JumboCast for this broadcast, joined alongside Mr. Jordan Burke. Jordan, exciting matchup here. Of course, Tufts looking to end their season strong as we conclude our home coverage here of Tufts Volleyball on JumboCast.
Well put, Andrew. It should be an interesting game here today. Both teams have looked pretty good in terms of their overall seasons. Obviously, you do have Brandeis, who went 0-7 in their own conference so far, with, I think, 2 games still left to play against conference opponents, versus the Jumbos, who've just been absolutely tearing it up. At least in terms of their home games, only having 1 on the season. Brandeis, 10-12 total on the season, just not exactly where they want to be, especially when their star player is a former D1 player in Sydney Bend.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the 0-7 record, but I think it's important to mention that, of course, Brandeis is in the UAA, which is home to many notable volleyball programs such as NYU, Chicago, Washington, Case Western, and Emory, most of which ranked in that top 25 or just outside of it. So definitely not the worst case for the Brandeis Judges, especially considering that they have relatively good record against NESCAC opponents, which, of course, is the conference that Tufts is fighting for the championship in.
Exactly said there, Andrew. It should be one heck of a game. Both teams have great offensive prospects as well as great blocking prospects. Each one, could improve on their defense, so we'll see exactly what each team's game plan is going into it. We've seen over the past couple of games that the Jumbos have had here at home that the main point of attack against them has been beating them on serve-receive, aggressive serves to some of the weaker passers that the Jumbos throw out in their lineup. And for Brandeis, I mean, if you look at the statistics, it seems to be that some of their biggest problems is when you can't get that ball over to Bent. Everyone else is hitting below 200% on, or .200 on the season, and if you keep the ball out of her hands, then it seems like everything should be coming up Jumbos.
Yeah, of course, Bent, the grad student, finished after a transfer over from, again, Notre Dame, who was a second-team All-ACC player in her freshman and sophomore year. Of course, junior year took off from COVID, and senior year entered the transfer portal to come over here to Brandeis, but certainly a very strong player, has had multiple games in the ACC with a lot of really good volleyball programs where she's been able to put up numbers. So going to be the person that we watch out for here today. Additionally, Lara Vistovchek here out of Houston, Texas, the sophomore. Not necessarily as good efficiency-wise, but does get a lot of the shots and will be a primary focus on the Brandeis offense.
Jumbo's going to roll with what has become their standard lineup here, with Audette, Legree, and Farragher starting up. They have fiddled around with that right side matchup, seeing who they pair with Maddie Yu and who they pair with Zoe Gregory, and today it seems like Farragher will be getting the pairing with Maddie Yu.
We are underway here at Cousins as Maddie Yu goes back to serve. Verstovchek gets the first swing of the game here for the Judges as they'll go to Christine Audette on the left side. Bent notably starting in the back row here for the first attack of the game, as a net violation gets called on that throw over by Verstovchek, the first points of the game, going over to the Jumbos.
Now, when you use your hands and you're trying to push the ball over, it needs to be at least somewhat clean. If you're the setter, obviously, it needs to have as minimal rotation as possible. Everyone else, you get a little bit more leeway, but when the ball's helicoptering off of the hands, that's going to be called every time.
Grace Legree up in the middle. The battle up front with Ariana Jackson. Farragher goes for the cross shot, landing right out of bounds.
Good blocks up there at the net from Brandeis. Jackson winning the one-on-one matchup against Grace Legree, trying to move in tempo. Then push the ball right back over. She had herself a good point there, showcasing some of the aggression at the net that the judges have in their toolbox.
Riley Farragher getting the start here tonight here in Cousins. Bent gets her first swing, but it's denied by Legree and Audette. And Farragher's unable to get that ball over on the joust. Another point going over to Brandeis' way.
And again, it's the discipline at the net from the judges. That is twice now that they've gone up in one-on-one matchups and have won. So that seems like a very big part of their offense today. Bent just got blocked, so they're going to need to win those matchups if they want to stay into it when their best hitter isn't necessarily performing.
This time the attack from Legree is a bit more successful. That's the quick attack that really has been working well for the Jumbos so far this season, straight to the middle. Tied up at 2 early on here in this first set as Christina Audette goes back. The receive attempt by Stephanie Bohr, the senior out of Westfield, New Jersey, is just a bit too short, and Audette will get another attempt behind the line.
Yeah, that serve was just filthy. That's going to be her 22nd ace on the season, just over the height of the net, and then drops right in front of the libero. I mean, it was just picture perfect.
Yarwood is blocked up front in the left side of the court. Sydney Bent and Ariana Jackson both playing factors there, and that's the power of Sydney Bent here, Jordan. You saw her on the dig earlier on that point, and then right back up to the front for the block.
Yeah, she had the roll shot over, too. She was just doing every aspect of the game right there, and massive penetration up against the swing from Janelle Yarwood. Her hands were all up in the face, and it was ball down.
Back row attack from Audette is out of bounds, and Brandeis is matching blow for blow with the Jumbo so far.
It seems like the Jumbos are their own worst enemy right now. They're playing competitive points. Everything is being put up in the air, but the ball placement is just not there for Maddie U to be able to make a great set. We saw the one time that they were able to do it, they ran a quick tempo ball, and right now they get a good pass, and what happens? The ball gets put down. A
strong swing coming out from Riley Farragher will find the floor on the judges' side. Riley Farragher entering the starting lineup. Maya Lightfoot starts this game off on the bench. Some substitutions here for the Jumbos as Legree rotates down to the back row. Connor Cunningham enters the game.
Net violation called there against Cora Cunningham. Going to put the ball back over for the judges. And what I'm noticing, Andrew, is the outside hitters just aren't swinging aggressively when they're up at the net. Everything's just been a roll shot. And it really goes to prove how much faith that Brandeis has in their defense, because if you're going to make non-competitive passes, or non-competitive swings, then expect the team that you're going up against to be even more aggressive because you're giving them a free ball.
Nice shot there coming out from Janelle Yarwood. We'll even the score back up at 5. Some more substitutions in as Tufts likes to run that 6-2. Zoe Gregory and Maya Lightfoot entering the game. Lightfoot, of course, that front row attacker. The setter playing towards the backside. On the other side, Brandeis likes to play with Inez Grom Mansinkol for the majority of this game as that service goes out of bounds.
That's been one of the weaker points of Gregory's game. I mean, she did come in after a couple of games that had already been played on the season as that third option setter. And on the season, she does have a fair amount of service errors. 18 service errors, now 19 to her 14 aces. Negative serving percentages, always going to be detrimental to your team.
Lightfoot looking to appeal to the referee a little bit, but I believe that ball just hit the net on that attack. We'll need another point going over to Brandeis, who find themselves with an early lead.
They're just playing solid all around. The defense has been there, and the Jumbos have just kind of looked sluggish. They need to start stepping up and playing their brand of volleyball if they want to reclaim the lead in this first set.
Oh, a nasty serve coming out from Sydney Bent. Zero movement whatsoever as Lee was unable to get to it in time. That's service ace number 39 on the season.
Yeah, she leads her team in aces, and there you can see why. It's just a beautiful float serve, gets late ending drop, and even in those cases where you do manage to get the ball up, you saw Stephanie Lee put it right back into the hands of, I believe that was Emerson White who put it back down.
Lucky, a good break coming out there for the Jumbo. It's a good call as well by Stephanie Lee in the back row as that ball barely sailing out of bounds. Janelle Yarwood is back to serve. Draw mincing call this time, looking over to White. Lee puts it up for Audette. A nice dig coming out from Verstovshek. Blocked up front. Rita Lai had no chance at the likes of Cora Cunningham.
I mean, it's just great blocking up at the net right there. 2 in a row where you got hands up, contacts made, takes everything off from the swing there. Brandeis is doing what they can, but it seems like their outside hitters are just getting low set. Same thing with the middles, and that just puts you in a rough position to try and get an aggressive swing up there. Again, low set, and you have to flick the ball up and not actually get on top of it like Maya Lightfoot does.
It's always so impressive seeing Lightfoot go out there with a swing. The trajectory, almost straight down on that one right there.
You know, if I remember correctly from the senior game, they said that she is the highest vertical of all female jumbo athletes.
Believe that. Bench shot goes out of bounds. The Jumbos doing a good job at fighting back, regaining the lead here at 9-8. This service run from Janelle Yarwood extended a little bit more. Now, when we talk about the Brandeis judges team here, Jordan, their middle blockers here, Ariana Jackson and Rita Lai, not necessarily as tall as some of the other middles here on the Jumbo side. Does that kind of provide a sort of advantage?
I mean, yeah, unless, you know, the vertical is enough to make up for the height difference and you're able to, you know, get the block to be just as efficient as it would if you were, you know, a 6-foot middle versus a 5'9" middle. That height advantage is definitely going to be something the Jumbos can roll with.
Lara Verstovchek. A very powerful swing. Nobody on the Jumbos was guarding that back right side, and it was beautifully placed there by the sophomore from Houston, Texas.
You know, just as I was criticizing the fact that not many aggressive swings have been taken from outside hitters, what does Verstovchek do? She just puts it right through the floor.
Lightfoot gets another opportunity, and she'll find another kill.
And that's part of the height advantage that you had been alluding to, Andrew. When you do have this height advantage, it becomes a lot easier for you as a hitter to not necessarily need to hit the ball to the floor, but you can use the block to your advantage. Tool blocking, name of the game right there for Maya Lightfoot, as she's able to find the top of hands and send the ball out of bounds.
Ramen Singh call goes for a setter dump, but Grace Legree sees right through the bluff. This time they go over to the line, but again, just not enough vertical as that shot is just pushed over to behind the line in the backcourt.
Again, it's the height problem there, but it's also, these sets are not necessarily great sets coming in from Brandeis. Everyone is trying to run a quicker tempo pace than normal, so you have hut balls like that one, where if you can't get the tempo right, you're never going to have the ability to get a swing on it. But Verstovchek looks dialed in right now.
Yeah, when she is on, she is absolutely on. Coming off of a 16-kill, 8-dig game against Johnson and Wales just a couple of nights ago. Also had 24 kills, which was her season high against Endicott on the 8th of October. A relatively strong opponent in their own right. Gregory over to Legree, tried to fake them out with the left hand. And goes with another block combined with Maya Lightfoot to get the Jumbos another point onto the board.
I hope Brandeis appreciates everything that they get out of Sydney Bent. Diving play there to get that one up, just keeping things going.
Point actually going over to Brandeis there, as I believe sailing out of bounds, or maybe a net error there. Sydney Bent, grad student again out of Raleigh, North Carolina, went to high school in Florida. Something you don't see a lot out of right side hitters is she is approaching 200 kills on the season, but also 251 digs, which is, again, not common, especially from that right side position.
I mean, when she makes plays like she just did right there, diving to the floor, no other girl able to get a hand on that ball except for Bent. I mean, it makes sense that she would be carrying the team from the defensive standpoint. There it is again.
Strong swing coming out from Yarwood. They'll go to Verstovchek again. Lee trying to pick it up, but a little bit of a mishandle there as it just kind of rolls over into the floor.
The Jumbos are trying to do something that they've done all season long, where they swing from the back row or they swing from the right side towards where a setter would be. But when you run a 5-1 like Brandeis does, that means that where a setter would be standing against an opponent running the 6-2 is the dig leader for Brandeis, Sydney Bent.
Racy Larian into the game. Here, Brandeis, Lightfoot, again with an absolutely massive shot. They go to Grace Legree again. A diving bent will save it as Verstovchek sends it over with the second swing. Lightfoot will try again. And Bent continues to deliver here, even in this back row. And Sydney Bent seemingly is able to do it all, but just is unable to help Grom Mancinko enough. But what an athletic display, that, again, coming out from that right side.
Bent versus the world on that last play. Every ball that came anywhere near her just put back up in the air, even taking a back row swing. But it seems like the way that the judges want to play this game is if you can get that one-on-one block when the Jumbos aren't able to bring their middle all the way to the outside against Verstovchek, then it's just roll shots and free balls being sent over and try and force the other team to make a bad play. Your defense has been holding up their end of the bargain, making incredible plays, keeping plays alive and prolonging them further than they probably should be going with the way that Maya Lightfoot swung 10-foot line across the court. I mean, if that's how they're going to play the game, and the Jumbos aren't able to pick up on that and get back into form.
Kill this time going over to Ariana Jackson, the sophomore out of Lewis Center, Ohio. Did not play at all last year, but has been the starter throughout, now with kill 85 on the season for herself. Brandeis making the Jumbos work here in this first set. They're down 2. And a set here that we normally see work to perfection, going just awry there. Maddie Yu and Grace Legree without that connection.
Yeah, you tried to force the ball over there, and even with trying to do that, you know, shake up what the defense might be thinking, there were still 4 hands ready to block that that swing if it was taken.
That was a double, I believe, called on the setter there for Grom Mancinko on the Brandeis side. Jumbos will get the points right back here as Christina Audet goes back to serve. A strong swing again coming out from Bent, but not strong enough. Farragher and Legree both playing a factor there on the block.
Where Bent works best is she's a lefty. She's always going to work best from the right side. When you have her swing from the outside, she only really has 2 shots at her disposal. Hard angle or just swinging right into the block. And all season long, Andrew, we've known this right side block from the Jumbos is something else.
Nice dig coming out from Steph Lee. Legree and Yu connect once again. This time they'll go to Yarwood, but it lands straight in onto the corner. I thought that one's going out of bounds, but Janelle Yarwood, again, is able to provide offensively.
Bent with the solo block. Jumbos keep it back up. They decide maybe we shouldn't keep swinging directly into her hands. I mean, she's been showing that her block is definitely present, so swinging right down the line instead works really well for Janelle Yarwood on that last attack.
Farragher with the finesse over the blocking hands on the right side.
That's just a smart play right there from Farragher. The block got there before she had any contact on the ball. You're always going to swing into the block at that point. The question is whether or not you can get a tool. Instead, just take everything off of it, roll right over, and make the defense need to make an incredible play to stay in it.
Verstovchek seemingly not super familiar with being over on that right side, sailing way out of bounds. Timeout called by the coach of the Brandeis judges, Alicia Bennett.
Coach Bennett, she's in her 9th season here at Brandeis, 12th season overall as a volleyball coach. She knows exactly when the right opportunity to take a timeout is, and when you were in such seeming command of this game and now you're down by 2 points, no better time than that to try and get this within a 1-score, 1-point game, especially when you're nearing the later points of a set. Definitely a good time to take a timeout and kind of reset. You know, you do have who's been your 2 best players so far in this game in Bent, who has not shown any weakness so far, aside from the one time that she got blocked in what is just a, you know, I don't want to call it a genetic disadvantage, but a left-handed hitter, when it's a rough shot to take. So you are at a little bit of a disadvantage there. And then you have Verstovchek, who on that last swing is starting to look more like her freshman year self, who only hit .078, 275 kills to 205 errors. She started to, you know, come off of that this season, but again, still hitting under 200. Those error numbers are still very present. And right there, she had a prime opportunity. There was a massive seam in the block, and she just sailed it out of bounds.
Yeah, Brandeis started off strong. 5 early kills here in this first set. But the attempts keep going up, and the kills haven't gone up as well. The hitting percentage earlier was around 400, and now down to 214. On the other side, Bent not actually getting too many attempts here. Has 5 total attempts, yet to pick up a kill. But of course, it has been her defensive efforts that have really saved the judges so far.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the name of the game for all of the judges this season. They have a bunch of people on their roster who are listed as outside hitters who have under 4 kills, but 50+ digs. They are a very defense-oriented team, and I think that's one of the better ways to play volleyball. You know, you can be as aggressive as you want, but the only way that you're actually going to be aggressive is if you're getting the pass first.
Free ball here for the Jumbos. Let's see how they operate. Yu's going to go over to Yarwood. And when you set up a play that perfectly, almost bound for success.
Massive seam in the block. Jackson not able to get over and close the block with Bent means that Janelle Yarwood's going to have her day with the floor. And what does she do? Same thing she always does. Hard swing right to the open spot on the court.
Jumbo's starting to pull away with it as we begin to close out this first set. Yu over to Grace Legree. Finding that communication once again. The bread and butter for the Jumbos yields them another point.
Jumbo's bench going back to their antics. Always love to see them riled up. If the bench energy is there, then you know the on-the-court energy is there. And if the whole team's energy is there, you're usually going to walk away with a win.
Rostovchek with a nice little push shot over, getting right over the hands of the Legree and Yarwood on the block. And Brandeis not out of this one just yet.
With Verstovchek coming to the back row, we're going to see Emerson White returning, playing that outside hitter position.
Yu over to Farragher, and Bent tried to get that one, but sailing right over into the bench on the opposition side. Hope everyone is okay on that area over there, but Jumbo's going to pick up another point.
The brains of Riley Farragher right now are just unmatched by the defense of the judges.
Bent. That's an incredible kill. You have to wonder why they weren't doing that earlier.
Well, they were certainly trying, Andrew, but they did have a rough position where they had Bent in the back row for the majority, and when she's taking these back row attacks, it's never going to look as clean as it is when you put no block up against her on the net.
Farragher will try her turn, and the right sides here for both of these teams, putting on a clinic in the first set at Cousins.
And I mean, I'm going to have to say that this is something that we could see coming if you do look at the stats. Bent does everything for the judges. And for the Jumbos, one of their best points of attack has always been the mismatches in terms of height advantage and just general volleyball knowledge advantage that they've had with their right side hitters against opposing outside hitters. It's always been their right side, which is the stronger block as well, which takes out opposing outside hitters. But Bent, she's not there. She's hitting right side.
Block up there by White and Lai. Bent gets another strong swing, but it's dug out by Steph Lee. Back row attack from Audette is sent over. The joust up front, and it's won by Sydney Bent, but the Jumbos keep the ball alive. Beautiful defensive skills shown right there. And another great show up front as the Jumbos are now 3 points away from a first set victory.
Rules of the joust, always make second contact. They're going to push it into you. You push it right back over aggressively with a lot more force behind it. Exactly what Bent does there, able to win the joust. And the Jumbos, with scrappy defense coming off of that, send the ball back over. Bent thought that the point was won. She wasn't back in transition, ready to get a full approach and take a full swing on that set that she had that ended up inevitably going into the net.
Man Singh call goes for the setter dump, and Gregory sends it up and can't get out of her own way. Lee was trying to send it over again, but not able to get there in time. Brandeis remain alive with Sydney Bent back to serve. Emerson White goes for the attempted kill right there, but Maya Lightfoot gets called for a foul, this time remaining here on the Brandeis side.
If you're the Jumbos, you are in a position where you do have Sydney Bent in the back row. This is one of the more favorable rotations that you'd like to have, where it's only a 2-hitter offense here.
Well, as long as you can get past the serve. They'll do it. Harwood with a really nice place shot. So they'll go with Verstavchik on the back row. Gregory here with the back serve right over to Lightfoot, who finds a spot. Jumbo's 2 points away from the first set.
Just miscommunication coming in there from the judges. Stephanie Bohr cutting in, playing against the tip. Maya Lightfoot, as we say, she's got the advantage. She's always able to read the court, see when stuff like that happens where they're creeping in against the roll shot. So what does she do? She throws it deep down the line. That down the line shot is always going to confuse whoever is playing back middle defense, because typically you would expect whoever is in the back right to, you know, make the play, jump up, try and get a contact as you're trying to run over. But Verstavchik just not able to make the correct read there.
Yarwood serve sails into the net. She has had 29 service aces on the year, but again, sometimes the errors come back to bite the Jumbos. They're actually pretty far behind the Brandeis judges and also a lot of their other opponents in service aces per set, only averaging about 1.7 of them.
And the Jumbo serves are not, you know, as aggressive or as strategic as some of the other teams that they've gone up against. You know, typically the way that they approach the game is that they believe that they can win any defensive matchup, they can win any matchup at the net, and the offense will always be swinging as aggressive as they can. And typically with that, they're right. The downside to that is when you're not prepared for aggressive serve, sometimes you're handing over free points and sets become more competitive than they should be with the way that the Jumbos play.
Lightfoot gets blocked. Verstavchik gets denied up front again, but Cora Cunningham unable to pick that one back up as it sailed back into this Jumbo side. Brandeis fighting back a little bit here. They have Ella Pereira back to serve. She has now 10 service aces coming into tonight. And now a good opportunity coming out for Brandeis. As you can see, the rotation has opened up an opportunity for Sydney Bent to get over to that front row as soon as possible.
2 rotations away is Bent from the front row. Jumbo's looking to close it out before then and only need 2 points. One here, attempting the side out, and then one more afterwards when it should be Cora Cunningham back to serve.
Odette is blocked again. A beautifully placed dump coming out from Ines Grom-Mansinkel. Just found an opportunity to place it right there in the back left corner, and the Jumbos were left stunned.
That was a fantastic time for a setter dump as well. As we've highlighted, Andrew, when Sydney Bent is in the back row, 2 offensive threats. What that does mean, though, is you do have to be aware that it is a front row setter, which means that the setter dump becomes all the more viable because you can actually break the plane of the net, get up in the air, and try and throw that one down. Exactly what Grom-Mansinkel does there. Able to get up, find a massive hole in the back right. Stephanie Lee thought that was going out, not aware of where she was on the court, not something that you typically see from her, and now it's a 1-score game, 23-22, as the judges look to just sail right past the Jumbos, not even force extra points with the way that they're playing right now.
Yeah, the setter dump, something that we see more in that 5-1 rotation. Brandeis attempted to go for a 6-2 a couple of days ago. They ran with both Grom-Mansinkel and Julia Liang in those setter positions, but seems like they're going back to what has worked well for them. And again, we talk about how, you know, this Brandeis squad has been down in the past, especially in their own conference, but take a look at some of their NESCAC matchups. You know, 3-1 over Williams, 3-0 over Bates, 3-1 over Bowdoin. I mean, these are teams that the Jumbos have, you know, matched up against relatively well. And you can see right here, a very close first set.
Yeah, 23-22. I mean, the score speaks for itself. Both teams have not necessarily been playing up to the caliber that they are able to. But with that being said, it's still being kept competitive the whole way through. And we have ourselves what should be an interesting game.
A really nice play shot there coming out from Maya Lightfoot. But the power coming out from Lara Verstavchik is too much. Somehow, Brandeis able to recover what seemed to be a double fake out some way from Maya Lightfoot. This game's all tied up at 23. Gregory will try her hand at a setter dump. Verstavchik will send it right back. Cora Cunningham right down the middle. Stephanie Bohr unable to pick it up.
And just as the judges look to coast right past the Jumbos, what happens? Just smart game plan the whole way through. The setter dump did exactly what it was supposed to do. If it doesn't necessarily get you the point, it forces a free ball back over. With that, you can run your middle 10 times out of 10. And when Cora Cunningham's swinging well, she's swinging well.
Set point here for the Jumbos, and Cunningham trying to send it over. Nearly a really impressive defensive effort from Yarwood and Gregory. But it is now all tied up as 24, as we will not end this set on this next point. Brandeis playing close to the number 24 ranked team here in ABCA. Audette with a strong swing down the middle. Verstovsek again with authority. Gregory able to recover the ball with an incredible dig. And Jackson sends it over Lee. There at the right time, Legree with the push. And a really great volleyball we're seeing right now with this game evened up. Audette from the left side. And Bent with a nice placement, but now the Jumbos get a good opportunity. They'll go in with Maya Lightfoot, but Bent is able to recover again. Yarwood with the back row. Gregory this time looking for Audette. Up in the air, gonna have to be a tough recovery. But the judges stay alive. Audette again, and a diving Verstovsek with the dig. And Grace Legree is blocked. Jumbos keep it alive, but I believe that was 4 as the referees try to distinguish when that ball hit the net or not. Brandeis winning in an absolutely incredible battle at the net.
I am at such a loss for words. There was great volleyball all around in that play. Everyone on the court getting to touch the ball, I believe, in that last one, whether it was digs, swings, the service line, everyone, all 12 girls on the court got a touch on the ball during that point. I mean, there's so many positive things to highlight about that. There's a couple of negative things to highlight about it, too. I mean, if you want to look at the negatives there, the Jumbos just started to become too predictable with what they were doing. You know, they ran to the outside too many times in a row, and they kind of just went down the line. Outside, middle, right side, back row, outside, middle. And then in the end of the day, Grace Legree just exhaustion from one long point. I mean, as a middle, you really do like short points, because having to always go up for the block and then take your approach every time to try and freeze the opposing middle, it gets tiring. I've been there before. It gets tiring.
And
So,
yeah.
Continue.
The timeout called by Cora Thompson, both to, of course, get a game plan ready, as now Brandeis is at that point. Maybe also to give the Jumbos a bit of a breather.
Yeah, I mean, after the last point, a breather is definitely needed. I mean, Christine Audette herself, I believe, had 4 different swings in that last point. That's that amount of repetition, jumping in the air, running back and forth, making passing plays. That is certainly something that you're going to need to take a timeout for. It's a great idea there to call the timeout, and you have to make Brandeis think about how they want to come out of this one ahead. What are they going to do now, coming out of the timeout, to put themselves in a position to go up 1-0 heading into set number 2?
Jumbos now facing another first set loss here if this point does not go their way. Audette is blocked by Jackson. The attack down the middle again works. If you don't succeed, try again, and try one more time. Grace Legree sends the score right back up to even at 25.
Yeah, I have to imagine that's what the play was the whole time. You also saw Maya Lightfoot coming in for that 2-ball. That double middle stack option is always going to be a great thing out of serve receive, especially when you get light shots over from the other team taking rolls constantly. It's definitely a great plan of attack there. When you have the one-on-one matchup with the middle, if your middle's Grace Legree, you feel comfortable giving her the ball.
Huge dig coming out from Steph Lee. Back row from Bend again, picked up by Lee. Legree down the middle again. 2 straight kills, same exact result.
And both of these kills going off of shank passes from Sydney Bent. They've caught her in slumping right now. She just took a swing, miss. You know, it was a non-aggressive swing from the back row, taking that roll shot over, just giving the Jumbos prime opportunity to run the ball to Maddie Yu's favorite target in Grace Legree.
Those 2 kills get her up to 4, leading the way alongside Riley Farragher, who also has 4 kills this on 7 swings. The more impressive thing, as we take a look at some of the statistics that are coming throughout this first set, Jordan, is kind of the defensive efforts that are coming in for both of these squads. Stephanie with 12 digs in just the first set alone, and Sydney Bent with 13. I mean, those are numbers that you do not typically see. When you look at sets per or digs per set, you're looking at maybe that 3 or 4, maybe 5 range if you're really good. Double digits on both sides through 1 is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a libero, you do want to be a little higher than 3-4. You are supposed to be that defensive anchor for your team. You usually want to be around the 8-9 mark. And here you have Brandeis, who technically has 2 liberos. They do have Bohr, who is, their listed libero. But for their outside hitter in Emerson White, they also sub her out for a defensive specialist, Ella Pereira. Each one of those girls you would expect to have high numbers of digs, but both of them trailing to Sydney Bent in the season.
Brandeis need a response. Lee with the dig, Odette with the kick, and it's going to send it straight over, but just out of bounds. That would have been the play of this season if it ended up finding its way down.
4 inches, Andrew. 4 inches, the difference between the Jumbos walking away with an incredible first set victory and it being tied here at 26 as the position you didn't want to be in if you're the Jumbos. Sydney Bent returning to the front row.
Wow. A defensive masterclass here coming out from both of these teams. That's not even the strongest of swings is able to save either of these ones, as that service will go out of bounds. The Jumbos get a bit of a freebie with Christine Audette back to serve to try to finish the job.
The Jumbos have just been handed the gift of all gifts. Free rotation back with 1 point needed to win the first set. One of your better defenders in Audette now being in the back row, and Janelle Yarwood, who's been swinging the most aggressive for the Jumbos, getting beat up at the net by Sydney Bent. She's really something else, Andrew.
Firecracker down that right side, just tapping that line, signifying the out of bounds mark. And Audette didn't even have an opportunity to try to go for the dig. It's just incredible power coming out from the former D1 all second team in her conference.
Yeah, I mean, if that isn't speaking to how good of a player she has been in the past, today's game is certainly proving how good of a player she is in the present. I mean, defensively has been impeccable, blocking at the net even better. And then you have her swings, which, while they haven't been up to the same level as her defense, have still been something that the Jumbos have struggled to deal with.
Lee with the overhand behind the 10-foot line. That's allowed if you're a libero, but we don't see that every day. And Yarwood with a strong swing, but I believe touching the net of some sort will get the ball back over to the Brandeis side.
Yeah, they're calling that one swung right on into the antenna. So it seems as though Brandeis, while they don't have, Verstovchek in the front row taking some of the better swings for the judges today, feeling pretty comfortable with their matchup, Sydney Bent against Janelle Yarwood.
You running to pick that one up. Again, Bent playing a factor on the block. And Emerson White sends it down onto the floor with a beautifully placed push. And the Brandeis judges shock the Jumbos here in this first set. 29-27 is the final.
And it ends all how it started. Brandeis getting their first couple of points off of a great plays up at the net, whether it be those overpasses that are just brushed away towards holes in the court, or whether it was the blocks. That's how they got their first couple, and that's how they get the most crucial one, the one that sets the score back to 0, but with a 1-set lead for Brandeis.
What an incredible first set that we just watched there, Jordan. I mean, have we ever seen something of that caliber that we just were able to witness right there?
Andrew, we have. You and I in particular have. You know what I'm thinking?
Yeah, I know, Reese. I know what you're thinking. It's been a while.
It certainly has been a while. I think ever since that fifth set against Trinity, Texas last year, we were both waiting for when that next incredible game of volleyball would be for the Jumbos. And, so far this season, they've kind of just coasted through everyone. They've had a couple of 5-set matches against, a great young lineup in Colby and against Hope, which they ultimately ended up losing. But even in those sets, some of them are not to the same caliber that what we just witnessed right there. I mean, as you put it, defensive masterclass coming out from both sides. The dig numbers through the roof, blocking presence at the net, also, you know, being a large contributing factor, pushing both teams to taking some weaker swings, you know, trying to come up with crafty, shifty plays so that you're able to try and get your team just 1 point, especially in those extra point settings. And end of the day, Brandeis walks away with it, but I do have to say, both teams there, it was coin flip who was going to walk away with it. No clear team better than the other.
Lee and Bent both ending with 13 digs on that set. And a well-balanced attack offensively for the Jumbos. Legree and Farragher both ending with 4 kills. Lightfoot and Yarwood both ending with 3. But on the other side for Brandeis, a bit more of a one-woman battle here. As, you know, Lara Vistovchek, I gotta read that again just to make sure that was right. 11 kills and 4 digs in that first set.
Yeah, and that's really saying something considering when you look at the season averages for Brandeis, they only average 11 kills a set, and all of those that they average are right in the hands of one woman. Yeah,
I mean, of course, some other contributors as well. White, who finished off that set with a really nicely placed push with 4 kills on 5 attempts for an 800 hitting percentage, also has 2 digs.
And of those 4 kills, Andrew, I believe 3 of them are off of those plays up at the net where she's just sweeping overpasses away. Those do go down in the books as kills. So even if she's not getting, you know, set as much as Verstovchek, who had 26 attempts, that's right, 26 attempts, you do still have this great presence up at the net, even if she's not necessarily swinging, because she's making the smart play and just putting the ball down any way that she can.
Now, don't look now, Jordan, but this is now the 4th straight set the Jumbos have lost so far here in this season. Of course, falling 3-0 to MIT, ranked now number 17 in the entirety of Division III after an unfortunate sweep there to wrap up their weekend in the New England Challenge, and now finding themselves down 1-0 against Brandeis. I mean, of course, tough opponents overall, but when you have a team here that's looking to try and compete for the NESCAC championship, getting on the right foot back here, especially here in this second set, going to be absolutely crucial.
Yeah, but this is a different kind of down 1-0. This isn't one of those 1-0s where it's, okay, we need to fix some things and we need to fix them now so that we can claw it back and try and get to a Game 4, Game 5 situation. The last set, as I said, was a coin flip. That could have gone any way. There was no telling who would walk out with that one as you got to the 23-23 mark, and back and forth points the whole way through up until 29-27 is what put Brandeis out on top. Really could have been anyone's game. This is one of those 1-0s where it's, okay, maybe we're getting home a little bit late for dinner, but we're definitely not out of this one, and we can certainly still be competitive.
Some slight adjustments here for the Jumbos as they will look to receive this first serve of the game. Coming out from Inez Grant-Mansinkel. Tori Golden entering here from the left side. It's not something we typically see, but Yarwood will start this set on the bench.
Yeah, we have seen Tori Golden come in and play this outside position somewhat recently. I believe it was the tournament that we hosted where that first came into play, where Janelle Yarwood just needed some time off. You need to give her a rest. I mean, she's been definitely overworked so far this season. And Golden started performing, so she kept getting playing time at that spot, and we'll see what she has here.
And she pretty quickly picks up a dig. Grace Legree, that middle blocker, once again coming in clutch for the first points for the Jumbos.
I mean, that's how they get it started most of the time, is a Grace Legree kill, and that's exactly what happens there. These middles for Brandeis, I don't want to call them non-factors, but they're certainly not playing to the same level that the Jumbos middles are. They're not taking great swings. Their passes aren't sharp, and if the Jumbos are able to take advantage of that, they'll be in a perfectly fine position.
Riley Farragher from that right side. Really nicely placed kill. Not the most power that we see out of Riley Farragher, but a beautifully placed shot will get the Jumbos a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, we see Verstovchek there not quite realizing what she was supposed to do there. She thought the ball was coming over. Maddie Yu able to recognize that the ball was still on the Jumbo side of the court, so you had Riley Farragher with a solo block and a lot of open court.
Ariana Jackson goes for a swing, this time landing just out of bounds on the right side for the Jumbos, so they'll get another opportunity. Christine Audette, the first server here, instead of Maddie Yu, because they started on the receiving end. Verstovchek again showing her power. Bouncing off the net a little bit, but not even Farragher and Legree, who are typically your top blockers there on that right side, can stop that.
The block just didn't close in time. Seam managed to show up. And off the top of the tape, that ball just manages to also find the secondary seam between your back row defenders in you and Audette. Neither one of them making the play to go to the ball. It's never quite what you want to see from your defense, especially when you have Maddie Yu, who's been your scrappiest of setters, making those defensive plays, and Christine Audette, who's been the second best defender behind Stephanie Lee.
Golden with a swing. Nice dig coming out from Maddie Yu. Bohr. White looks for the cross. Audette with the back row, and Grom-Mansinkel's attempted dig sails into the bleachers on the opposite side.
Man, as they typically like to do with those back row attacks, swing towards the setter, put the other team out of system. If you're taking a back row attack, either the play has gone on way too long, or you're just trying to get a reset on the ball. So taking that back row attack, putting it towards the setter, putting the other team out of system, statistically gives you a higher percentage of getting that free ball back and being able to run the offense how you want to.
Leave serve, sails out of bounds. And now Stephanie Bohr, the senior out of Westfield, New Jersey, gets an opportunity. Brandeis has swapped between their liberos a little bit. Bohr's got some starts. Pereira's gotten some starts. This time they're going back here with the senior. Farragher from that right down the line, able to pick up another kill for herself. Score now 5-2.
Seems like Riley Farragher is asking for more praise as the best right side on the court right now. I mean, she's been swinging excellently. Smart decisions, whether to roll shot or actually take an aggressive swing. And right there with no block against her on the line, she'll take that one every day.
Lee has been able to dig out some of Bent's most powerful swings. She'll get another one right here. Audette tried to work a little bit of finesse, failing right into the net. Brandeis will get the serve right back into Bent.
That is one of the hardest things to try and do in volleyball. From the back row, tip right over the block in the front row. Very difficult to read and actually get the right amount of finesse on it. Usually you would just like to see go up with two hands and push it over. But Audette wanted the style play, which, if you do manage to succeed, will typically get your team a point.
Lightfoot sends it out of bounds. A little bit of chaos erupting there on the Jumbo side as ball was kind of in weird places that you would not normally expect. The Jumbos, who are a bit out of sync there, not able to pick that one up.
Well, as you said, Andrew, it's chaos. And what's causing that chaos? It's the blocking ability of the Brandeis front line. A good amount of the swings, as well as the passes from the Jumbos. The swings themselves have just been getting blocked, and the ball's not necessarily put straight down, but it's right tight up against the net, which is just confusion all around. Who makes the first play? Who can make the first play? And we've seen that put the Jumbos out of system. The other side of that is that the passes have been extremely tight to the net. And when that's the case, you pretty much know where the set is going to go because the setter's trying to just make a play before the ball can go over or into the net. And that means that the block is also coming all the way over, which enables the other side of the coin.
Golden's able to rush over, but now a chance ball here. And they look over to White. Golden from the left side. Beautiful dig coming out from Bent. And Bent almost able to save that one, but again, the blocking this time for the Jumbos able to work out as Lightfoot and Cunningham combine on the defensive effort. Golden will exit the game as Megan Harrison, defensive specialist, gets her first opportunity tonight.
Golden, traditionally a right side, which means she's used to that 6'2" substitution, doesn't have a whole lot of reps from the back row. I mean, when she's been in, she's been pretty okay, but you don't want to take any risks when you're down one set, so they'll go to the defensive specialist.
Gregory to Lightfoot, and just inbounds it goes. Maya Lightfoot showing her power as well.
That's the back one ball for Maya Lightfoot. It's one of her favorite swings in the game. She takes it pretty much as often as she can get it. And you run that in tandem with the front one, means that Maya Lightfoot's going to get either a massive seam from a middle trying to reach over as they were sticking with their own matchup against the opposing middle, or she'll get absolutely nobody on her at all, in which case she'll put the ball through the floor.
3 jumbos jumping simultaneously, but the ball goes over to Audette. An overpass on Verstovsek's side should have meant a relatively easy over for the jumbos, but Audette is unable to get that ball over.
And not necessarily the right read there from Cora Cunningham. When you get an overpass, your instincts tell you just how do I get this ball down quickly. Typically that would be to just send it right back to the returner with force. However, when you do have this situation where they just ran a triple stack up in there, up in the middle of the court, then you do have a block present. And with the block present, the swing becomes far less efficient because now you're trying to swing around a block with timings completely off from what you're used to doing. That's when you would like to see her go up with 2 hands and do exactly what happened for Brandeis to win the first set and just sweep it away.
Brandeis still battling here in this second set. That first was absolutely not a fluke. Back set. And Lee will send it over for the jumbos. Verstovsek is dug out by Harrison. Audette finds a spot. The attempted pancake flips the wrong way, coming out here for Sydney Bent.
Even though Sydney Bent wasn't able to get there, I think she might have dove like 15 feet forward.
Oh, it was impressive.
That was incredible hustle right there to try and keep the play alive. And that's what's been the defining factor between Brandeis this year and last year. Last year when the Jumbos played against them, I believe they won 3-0 and the sets were non-competitive. However, this season, as we've seen, far more competitive, far better volleyball being played by both teams. And a lot of that does come off of the back of having Sydney Bent on your lineup for the judges.
Some slippage issues, of course, happen when a dive ends up coming out.
With the way that these girls have been working, sweat's going. When you do dive, you're all going to need to clean up after. It doesn't help that it's also muggy out here in Medford.
Nice placement coming out from Lara Verstovsek. And now the offense really starting to roll here for the Brandeis judges. Some really nice play shots that we've seen so far.
Yeah, going back to what was working well for them in the first set. Once Verstovsek had a couple of kills come off of taking these roll shots, being far less aggressive at the net, that's when she started swinging. And when she's swinging, we saw that she was able to run pretty aggressively.
Oh, what a placement. What a play. Harrison and Lee and Gregory all combined for an incredible acrobatic possession, so to speak, as Stephanie Lee will pick up what I believe is her 3rd kill of the season.
And that's perhaps my favorite thing to see on a stat sheet is liberos with kills. It's even better when you know that that kill was an actual swing and not just passing a ball over and it finds the floor. I absolutely love that from Stephanie Lee right there.
And Maddie Yu will find the line as well. Service ace this time picked up for Maddie Yu, the setter. That's number 29, I believe, coming into tonight.
And she's the team leader in service aces. She just has a nice hard float serve and she can control the distance on it. Back-to-back aces, Andrew. Make it 30 on the season for her.
That float serve, kind of like a knuckleball. I know you, as a Mets fan, pretty familiar with that with R.I. Dickey. Really unpredictable.
Well, Andrew, if this doesn't get over, I would have been 31.
They'll go to Farragher. Nice block by Jackson. And Verstovsek is denied by Farragher and Legree. Audette sends it right back. Return to sender, Christine Audette picking up a kill.
And that's the aggression that you want to see from the Jumbos on the net. They didn't have the same reads on the overpasses that Brandeis did in set 1. Set 2, they're trying to work on that. We saw a miscue from Cora Cunningham, not making the right play there. What happens? You learn from it and you move forward. Christine Audette makes the right decision there. Coming over, what do? Don't try to hit it through the floor, even if you can. We know she can. The smartest thing to do is just flick it, and she flicks it right down. I believe that went off of a defender before it went out of bounds, but ultimately the Jumbos get a point, doubling up against the score of Brandeis. Their lead now 12-6, and they're playing a lot better volleyball right here. They're playing smarter defense, making the move to go over to the ball. The block has been far more secure against these outside hitters, taking away one of I mean, Brandeis, not to discredit some of the performances that they've had from their other hitters, they've really been run through two players in this game in Bent and Verstavsek. And when you're able to block Verstavsek, since she's paired opposite by, or not fully opposite, but 2 rotations away from Bent, they're not in the front row at the same time consistently, which only works well for the Jumbos because they can kind of cheat their block over towards Verstavsek when Bent isn't in the front row. And if you have the read on her and force her to take roll shots, that's when you can start to then cheat your defense in. And we've seen Stephanie Lee and Megan Harrison making plays, and if they can get the passes up off of the roll shots, well, then you've effectively eliminated the best hitter today for Brandeis.
Jumbos starting to run away with it a little bit here as their lead has expanded to 6, which caused that timeout coming out from the judges. Again, that right side block. Doesn't matter how strong of a shot you get, but the pushover as Verstavsek finally gets some revenge. Megan Harrison was cheating a little bit towards the front, and the dive was just a bit short.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying, where they had the perfect read on Verstavsek. They took away a hard swing. They took away a roll shot. What they weren't prepared for was the over on 1. Now you know that that might be coming the next time that you see it.
And right on the line again, Grace Legree.
Andrew, name a more dynamic duo than Maddie Yu, quick tempo pass to Grace Legree, ball to floor. I don't think there is one.
Ketchup and mustard. Tom and Jerry. Mike and Ike. How about you to Farragher? That's also a good one.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the highlights, especially last season if you looked at it when you had Maddie Yu paired with Riley Farragher on the right side. Didn't know if they were going to run a 6-2. Then they started just working really well together with Farragher swinging. Hence why she's got this spot coming into this year as well, and proven why she'll continue to have that spot going into next season.
Stephanie seems to be everywhere, but a nice block coming out from Jackson and Verstavsek. Ariana Jackson having a very important defensive impact so far. She now has 3 blocks on the night.
That's one of those positions where if you're a setter and you're all the way over towards the outside, then you're not in a great position to actually give the ball to your outside because the block will be red there. Instead, Maddie Yu making the decision to force it back to Farragher, but the set was just well too off the net, giving enough time for the block to then reset for the judges. And that's why you see Jackson able to get the block.
It is just too clean. Grace Legree, we're going to miss that shot right there. We're going to miss that quick shot next year after she graduates. I mean, what a combination. And White gets denied, as that I believe is a solo block coming out from Riley Farragher.
Solo block over to Riley Farragher. I mean, we've said it all season long, Andrew. The right side blockers from the Jumbos are something else. Riley Farragher doing it all herself right there on that one. 16-8. The Jumbos really taking a lead here.
Oh my word. Sydney Bent.
And that's one of the other things that you have out of a lefty right side hitter. Typically the Jumbos have been matched up against right-handed right side hitters. And when you do have that position, the line shot becomes far more difficult. So they cheat their block in against the hard court shots.
Looks like all the middles, so the Jumbos are able to kind of work that around. You know, we keep harping on it, Jordan, but it really is that signature play that we see out of this Tufts squad whenever we come over here to Cousin.
Well, it's Maddie Yu's favorite set in the game. She loves to give the ball to her middles, even if she has great pin hitters in Tori Golden, Janelle Yarwood, Christine Audette, the list goes on. She just loves to give the ball to the middles, especially when you're winning the middle matchup. Both of the middles have been taking swings with basically no block against them because the block's just late.
And the offense is starting to cook here for the Jumbos. Maya Lightfoot, really nicely placed coming out from that right side. Jumbos really starting to run away with this second set. They're up 18-9. And Cunningham delivers again. Cora Cunningham able to make some kills of her own. She now has 3. Legree with 7.
There it is again. I imagine this is some substitutions coming in swapping up the setter and pin hitter look here, thinking that the middle is looking A-okay. I'm personally not a fan of this. I don't think either one of those were the problems for the judges. I think the matter of fact is your middles are getting beat. They're a full step behind the jumbo middles, and if you're only going to solo block either one of the jumbo middles, you're never going to win the matchup.
Gregory's service out of bounds. Entering the game is
I believe that was Liang.
So yes, Julia Liang and Anna Urtezcek. I just wanted to make sure that I got that pronunciation right. Urtezcek starting a majority of the games this season here for the judges. This time coming off the bench, try to provide a spark. Talking about a spark, there comes Lightfoot. And Verstovcek's able to send it over. Golden with a strong swing. Liang, the connection working with Tatiana Wayner. And the judges looking to work a little bit more here with some of the new pieces that they have on the floor.
Each team running a play exactly how they wanted to on that last one. The Jumbos do the right side stack where they had Cunningham and Lightfoot come to the middle, and they froze Wayner. Wayner was not there. You had your one-on-one matchup, Golden against Liang on the outside. Golden not able to get the kill, left a perfect opportunity in that 5-1. You don't have a right side hitter. Makes the slide play for a middle all the more aggressive. If it's not read properly, most of the time the slide play, the way that your body's contorted, you want to hit the ball cross court anyway. So if you don't have that middle blocker over to take away some of that shot, the ball's going to go down.
Benton Verstovcek still in here for the judges. And a bit of miscommunication there for Brandeis. Of course, that shot from Lightfoot was tipped, but nobody there were able to kind of pick it up. You take a look at the way that the rotation is working right now for Brandeis and the pieces that they have up front in this 5-1, not necessarily your best blockers. Harrison in for Golden. She's back to serve. Urtezcek to Lightfoot. Liang over to Verstovcek. Straight into the seats it goes as Harrison was unable to pick up the dig.
I think the judges might have just gotten away with one there. Not to discredit the swing from Verstovcek. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful back row attack, but I think she might have been over the 10-foot line when she first took that approach. Might have just gotten away with one, and that might just be the exact break that the judges need. You know, they're down 20-12 after they were in a super competitive 29-27 set. They've been getting outmatched in every asset of the game so far in this set. And sometimes all you need is one of those gimme points to just put the ball back in your hands, back in one of your better servers in Pereira. I believe it was her who was back at the line when the judges were down 23-20 and then clawed back 23-24. So she's exactly the girl that you want right back on the line. As we're taking a long pause to make sure that the table has the substitutions correct. She's exactly who you want back at the line, and if you're the Jumbos, you need to kill the momentum right now. Make sure that that point means absolutely nothing. Go up 21-12 and look to close out.
Pereira with a beautiful serve, and Audette, one of the best serve receivers here on the Jumbos, is just unable to get in the right position. Pereira with only 10 service aces entering the season, but of course has split time a bit with Bohr. Liang looks over to Verstovcek. It's blocked by Cunningham, and sailing out of bounds it goes after the attempted send back over. And that was exactly the break that the Jumbos needed. Now up by 8 once again. Grace Legree re-entering that front row. Cora Cunningham will be back to serve.
And this is exactly what the Jumbos wanted. The block needed to be stronger coming into this set, and because it has been, the Jumbos have come out miles ahead of the judges.
Verstovcek hitting the line ref there. She will, looks like she's fine, laughing it off a little bit. The power coming out from Brandeis certainly shown right here, but it will just again be another point over to Tufts. Lightfoot shot just inside the line, and the Jumbos are 2 points away.
Correct me if I'm wrong there, Andrew, but did you also see Sydney Bent flinch away from the ball?
Not entirely sure, if I'm being honest.
I thought that when the ball came near her, she, kind of shrugged it off like it was going out of bounds, and then once she realized that it was coming well too hard at her to be out of bounds, just turned away from it to not be hit. That was just one heck of a swing out of Lightfoot.
This time the flinch away working well as Ben realizing that the serve was going out of bounds, as again the towel is going to have to come out here on this Brandeis side. I did notice walking into Cousins today that it is a little bit more humid than I am anticipating when I normally step in for a game here.
So we're going to have a new MVP this game. It'll be the towel.
I guess we could just
most valuable prop.
Grace Legree. Zoe Gregory was able to find that connection as well, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the great things that you have when you have such experienced middles as Grace Legree and Cora Cunningham. It doesn't matter which setter they're working with, so long as they're getting the set that they want. And for Grace Legree, it's that 31 ball. So long as she's getting it, it doesn't matter who's giving the ball to her. She'll find a way to make it into a kill.
Jumbos with 10 set points. Maddie Yu is back to serve. And Verstavchek is blocked. And Legree and Farragher will send the Jumbos back to even, taking that second set with authority, 25-14.
Yeah, and that was just a lot cleaner of a set from the Jumbos. They went into it shaking things up. They took out Janelle Yarwood, put in Tori Golden, which also enabled some more playing time for Megan Harrison. So what does that mean in terms of how things evolved here for the Jumbos? Well, with Tori Golden now being a new hitter in the matchup, you don't necessarily know what her swings are going to look like if you are the judges. Now you have to pay closer attention to her, which enables your other hitters in the middles and the right sides to be far more aggressive, have better one-on-one, one-on-1.5 if the block necessarily doesn't close opportunities, which they capitalized all without that set, and you improve your defense. You go from having, a good outside hitter in Janelle Yarwood. She can make the pass, but not to the same level that a former and probably soon-to-be Jumbo starting libero next season in Megan Harrison. All of those things paired with the fact that the middles just really stepped up their blocking game, especially against Lara Verstavchek, is really what allowed the Jumbos to progress forward and just, take what was a 2-point lead at 8-6 and coast it into an 11-point difference as they tie it up 1-1 here at Cousins.
And again, when you take a look at the stats, it's not really one player making a very significant impact. Of course, Legree leading the charge with 8 kills on 15 attempts for a very efficient .467 hitting percentage, but it seems like the attack's relatively well balanced. Farragher with 7, Lightfoot with 7, Audette with 4, Yarwood and Cunningham both with 3. Again, on Brandeis, still Verstavchek really handling a large portion of that offensive load. Now 16 kills here on the night. And, that's kind of the difference when you only have one swinger working out for Brandeis and you have multiple ones working out for Tufts. That's when things can start to go your way. Yeah,
as you said, Verstavchek, 16 kills, but that's on 41 attempts, and Brandeis is a total of 88. Nearly half of the balls are going to Verstavchek. That's well more than what should be happening, and once you start to become that predictable with where you're going to put the ball, again, this is one of the downsides of running a 5-1 is you do only have 2 hitters for the 3 rotations where your setter is in the front row. But regardless as to whether or not that is the case, if you're forcing the ball there time and time and time again, as we just saw in the second set, the blocks are going to start to come up. The Jumbos are going to read that, and if your best hitter in Verstavchek is not getting the ball anymore, then you're at a disadvantage. And if she is getting a ball and is continuing to swing against the block and not, adjusting her own game to what the Jumbos are now throwing out against her, again, you're going to get beat.
And the supporting pieces continue to shift around a little bit here for the judges as they now have had, I believe, is that 13 or 14 players enter the game here. But we still have yet to see something really click, at least in that second set. They're going to have to try to figure something out here as, of course, they did work out really well, especially closing out there in that first to get that first set in particular.
And it's kind of gone both ways, right? The first set was predominantly won The first set was predominantly won by Brandeis with, their aggression at the net, winning plays up at the net, winning the jousts, doing well with the overpasses, and then taking smart swings as opposed to aggressive ones. Even if you aren't swinging as hard, if you're able to put it to a spot that is open in the court, that's still going to be a point. We saw that kind of shift away from the judges in set number 2 and shift more in favor of the Jumbos, as you saw a lot more blocking coming into play for them as well, and also smarter hitting tactics, going to that roll shot, going to the back row attack more. And you saw the judges not go to that as often. They started swinging far more aggressively, even when they were getting blocked. And, sometimes the option is more force, and if you can just get one kill, everything resets. But sometimes it's just playing smarter and playing scrappier.
Start of the third set here with things evened up at 1. Maddie Yu looking over to Grace Legree. Nice dig coming out from Bent. This time they go to Farragher on the right side, and she'll pick up the first kill of the third for the Jumbos.
Yeah, great swing coming in from Farragher, using the outside hands of the block of white to her advantage. And Andrew, I'm noticing something interesting that the judges made for this third set. They swapped the lines. They're starting with Verstovshek in the back row and Bent fully far away to get the better blocking matchup. No Legree will be paired up against either one of those hitters. And instead of Riley Farragher, you'll have Maya Lightfoot out there.
And Farragher again picking up another kill. You can see the blocking effort still working well. Rita Lai with a really nice block of Legree down the middle. But Farragher really having a good start to this third set. And
the other side to swapping your lines completely is now you have a weaker block up against Riley Farragher. And when she's been playing as well as she has today.
A diving Golden with the dig right there. And Audette sails out of bounds there on that swing. Judges will get their first points of the third.
The defensive substitution the judges have been rolling with all day going to come back into play. Verstovshek now in the front row, and the next rotation will then put Tori Golden in the front row for the Jumbos. So no change is going to happen in terms of the block matched up against Verstovshek, but she will have one rotation that will differ from the previous 2 sets.
Audette this time working from the middle. As you will send it back up to her. And Bent sending it 50 feet or so into the air. And Legree trying to save it with the foot. The judges will respond right back.
There it is again. Bent defensively, keeping the judges alive despite some great swings that have come out from Christine Audette in that last point. And prolonging the point just means that you're going to give your offense far more attempts to run, and you're going to give the Jumbos defense far more time to screw up.
Legree's ball blocked, but the shot goes out of bounds. Grace Legree on that slide over to the right, still just as effective. Yu over to Legree again. Bent unable to stop that one. Not as much power as we can see out of that shot, but still just the angle was really good coming out from Grace Legree.
Yeah, not necessarily the hardest shot you said, Andrew, but it's the smarter play right there. You're off tempo with your setter. You're not moving in pair with her. Even if you're going up a little bit late, that ball's now a little lower, so you don't necessarily have the opportunity to snap over the ball and drive it to the ground. So instead, what are you going to do? Power tip. It's a great effective tool. We've seen Grace Legree go to it when she is off tempo with the setter pairing, and right there, puts a 10-foot line.
Verstovshek with a strong swing. And
net call against Riley Farragher there. That is one of the benefits that you have of the more aggressive swinging Verstovshek as opposed to White. You know, you're trying to force your hands over more, try and take something off of it, get any sort of contact to give your back line a better opportunity of passing the ball. Sometimes that means they're going to jump into the net.
Farragher is blocked. Jackson and Verstovchek there. Now a joust up front. It's won here by the Jumbos. Legree sends it back over. They'll look for Verstovchek again. Audette with a dig. Grom-Mansinkel looks over, and Jackson is dug out by Lee. Good defensive effort coming out from the Jumbo so far. Golden is unable to get that kill with a diving bent, able to save it. They'll go to Farragher sailing out of bounds. Brandeis wins the battle.
Jumbos had a perfect opportunity there, run a style play. You had no block for Riley Farragher, just got a little too overconfident with that one. She has had the most amount of attempts for any Jumbo hitter so far in this set, and sometimes with that repetition comes error.
Grace Lee-Rain back to serve. Legree, once again. That 1-2 combo works too good.
It's just too clean, and this is an interesting one. The Jumbos are going to change up their serving tactics here, Andrew. As you know, the libero can only serve for one of the two middle blockers. Traditionally, that's been serving for Grace Legree and letting Cora Cunningham ride. But the Jumbos here are going to shift that one up.
And Legree is able to provide some defensive effort. You to Audette. This time they'll go to the right side. Riley Farragher's shot picked up by Pereira. The judges almost save it, but Pereira's back bump goes into the net, and Grace Legree will get another serve.
Pereira just a half second too slow on that one. Ends up making contact with the ball, not when her arms are at their highest point in elevation to give it loft to go over the net, but as they're starting to curl back in so she can get the ball over her shoulder. That means that you're going to have more of a line drive. And with the amount of topspin that had, it just never had a chance to get over the net. That was going right into it all the way. You saw Maddie Yu kind of turn away from it as the ball made contact, realizing that one wasn't going over. And great defense from Grace Legree, even if it is an overpass, that's still, great defense. Granted, she is a middle blocker, and especially when she doesn't traditionally serve and play defense for herself.
Golden's partially blocked. Cunningham wins the battle.
She learned from her mistake last time trying to take the swing there, realizing there's going to be someone else there. I can't do it. Right over the hands of Jackson. Another overpass ball played to perfection for the Jumbos. They're up 7-4.
Legree was the primary server last year at 17 service aces. Only has one so far in 2022. The dump going over to the way of Yu, as Legree passes it over a bit too far. Yu this time to Cunningham, but a nice dig. This time an overpass though. Golden has to send it over. Nicely placed, but it's another dig and a dive coming out from Bent. Farragher with the roll shot just over the blocker's hands, and another extremely impressive defensive display there. Bent a little bit shaken up off of that play.
Yeah, she had to take 3 dives in a row there, and the last one of those dives did end in a collision. She seems okay though, a little bit shooken up, but it was her right arm, which if you are a left-handed hitter, you don't necessarily need 100% of the time. I mean, certainly going to be a hindrance for passing over your head using your hands, but she seems to be okay.
Bent now with 22 digs here on the night. Some slight technical difficulties on our side. We apologize, but I believe we're up and rolling once again. 8-4 in the third set as Grace Legree back for her third straight serve. Dive by Maddie Yu keeps the ball alive. Golden sends it straight over, but out of bounds.
Well, it was a pleasure watching her serve, but Stephanie Lee is going to come back in now for Grace Legree. Just a little too much on the ball put there from Tori Golden. Great job from Audette, though, to take the setter out ball and make it a little bit more competitive than if Legree had passed it. Great read there from Audette as well, watching that one sail out of bounds.
Jumbos will get it right back. Entering the game here in regards to the 6-2, Zoe Gregory and Maya Lightfoot in for Yu and Farragher. The combinations of the setter on the right side, Jordan, have been a conversation, but honestly, the Jumbos seem pretty content with switching things up whenever they deem it necessary.
Yeah, they've done enough reps in practice between these two setters at this point in the season. You know, earlier on when Zoe Gregory first came in, I believe it was 4 games into the season, maybe things started to look a little shaky, but at this point, everyone's just kind of working as fluidly as you can. No one's really uncomfortable with any other setter or any other hitter. All of the lines are performing.
An incredible day coming out from Steph Lee. And the pass from Grod-Vansickle over to Jackson. A little bit off guard. Jackson leaped and looked to put on a really strong swing, but just kind of, I guess, a whiff almost as it sails into the net.
All season long, one of the strong points that the Jumbos have had working for them is that their middles are far more aggressive than any other middles that they've come up against, and it's showcased right there.
And Sydney Bent showing her offensive prowess as well. The block sailing out of bounds. The judges still alive here. They're down by 4, but still a lot of volleyball left to play here in this set. Lee on the receive. They'll go to Cunningham. As Bohr looks over to Bent. Odette with the back row, sailing just wide. As both teams have been really able to read when that ball is going out very effectively so far.
Yeah, great backline defense has been for both sides of the court. Each team able to recognize when a ball is sailing out and not make the play for it and just let it watch and take the free point that you're handed.
Another nice call.
That's another one of the perks that you have from a loud bench. We hear the Jumbo bench, haven't heard the Brandeis bench. Jumbo bench calling that one out before anyone on the court heard it. And the second that the bench said it, everyone just kind of opened up and let it sail right through.
Bent leaping into the air and slamming it home on the cross shot.
Yeah, she seems pretty okay after taking that dive. She's definitely still playing aggressively, taking swings the way she wants to. We saw a line shot 2 points ago. That last point, her kill on the hard angle, or normal angle since she is left-handed. But
Odette just hasn't been able to find the mark there on some of her swings so far. I know this is not a stat that we track here in volleyball, Jordan, but the exit velocity coming out from Sydney Bent, yeah, I mean, it's pretty insane. How about that?
You want to talk about exit velocity? I've said it every game that we've worked where they have worked, where the Jumbos have run a stack in the middle. They never run it with their outside hitters. They always run it with the right side hitters in Farragher and Lightfoot. And now with Maya Lightfoot, when you have the hops that she does, the ability to get on top of a ball, the mechanics that she does, it's just something of beauty whenever it comes through.
So Cunningham also back to serve here as it's suddenly turned into the Sydney Bent show a little bit. She is single-handedly closing the gap here between these two teams. She'll go back to serve and look to even this up at 12.
And you wanted it to be the Bent show in this set if you are Brandeis. Verstavsek was getting owned by the Jumbos in set number 2, that being the key difference maker between sets 1 and 2. And if that's going to be the case, you're going to need Bent to step up.
Rita Lai picking up a kill. The junior out of Sugar Land, Texas, is 5'8", but is still a middle blocker and is leading the team in kills with blocks, with 62. That's nearly an entire block per set.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely absurd blocking numbers coming out from her. She does have 12 solo, 50 blocking assists. Part of those assists does come off of the fact that you have great pin hitters on either side of you, whether it be Bent, White, or Verstavsek. Both of those, or all 3 of those girls able to, aid to the block that she's presenting. But the 12 solo blocks definitely goes to showcase just the strength that she has as a middle blocker, even if the hitting percentage isn't necessarily there. I mean, last year she was hitting negative on the season. This year, closest on the team to 200 for those who are underneath 200 hitting percentage. She came in at 177. And I mean, she hasn't taken the best swings today. When she has gotten on top of the ball, though, they've looked pretty competitive, able to find some spots or at least find the setter and put the Jumbos out of system. But it really is that blocking presence that she brings to the table for the judges, which has, you know, kept them close in this third set.
Yeah, the middle is all playing a factor. Ariana Jackson as well. Tatiana Wayner, who came in a little bit earlier in that second set. So the middles for Brandeis working pretty well so far. Just been a really well-played game so far, Jordan, on both sides.
Yeah, you had great out-of-set mentalities coming in on the side of either team. You had the Jumbos coming out of the last set, more aggressive, better blocking at the net, coming away with that one. Off of that loss, you then have Brandeis, who's coming out with a completely different game plan, running Bent more as a hitter and less as a defender.
And Grom Mansinkel had to run seemingly across the entire court to try to get that set up, and not beautifully placed as Emerson White unable to hammer it home. Jumbos getting their first points in what seems like a while with Maddie Yu back to serve, score 13-11. And another nice call at the line. You don't normally see that coming out from Maddie Yu. She's normally very consistent in her serves. But it seems like Brandeis able to make the right calls at the right time.
Well, with both Maddie Yu and Stephanie Lee, who have been some of the better float servers for the Jumbos in terms of positioning and being able to hit any spot on the court, typically their plays are called where to serve the ball by Coach Thompson. And that one, I mean, you're just trying to fool the back line, get it as close as you can, and hope that they make a play, and then you know, have a not so great pass to make the set also equally as awkward.
A diving Harrison saves it for a little bit, and Yu and Legree unable to connect there on an unconventional setup there from the pass.
Yu from the ground making a great play to keep the ball up in the air. Yellow card? On who? Intriguing. That one's going to be called against Coach Thompson. That's one of those warnings that you get as a coach for, you know, being too against both the refs and the other team. It very rarely happens, but when you see it, it becomes an interesting topic of conversation because there is, you know, the potential for a coach ejection, as well as player ejections too, but those typically aren't seen.
Nice dig again coming out from Bent. From Mansinkel. And Legree is dug out by Pereira. Bent tries again. Yu over to the middle, but a diving Bent again keeps the possession alive. Verstavchek finds the antenna, and she wants that one back.
Now you saw it right off of the swing. She lands. She saw it into the antenna, holding her hands up in the air. Why? Well, simple answer is you got pushed too far out. When you're pushed too far out, you can't keep swinging the same way that you would if you were inside on the pin. When you're outside of the pin, completely different look needs to be taken. Even if you can't get a hard swing, you just got to put that over. That's some of the greenness of this sophomore hitter from Brandeis coming into play.
She got another opportunity here. Again, the power from these Brandeis swingers is good. Lee with another incredible dig. Bent again, following suit. Lee with the pass over to Farragher on the right side. As Lai almost gets another opportunity. And Lee able to hit it from behind that 10-foot line. The overhands from Steph Lee have given her 2 kills on the night.
2 kills for Stephanie Lee. That's just, I'm happy to see that. Libero kills are one of my favorite things in the sport. And Stephanie Lee almost doubling the amount of kills that she had on the season.
It is a double, yeah. It's doubling. From 2 to 4. They keep trying to get the ball into Bent. And Lee just barely grazing that ball off of the swing. It seemed like they knew it was going out of bounds, but the reaction was just a little too quick.
5 girls on the court called that one out. Stephanie Lee not being one of them. Heard it last second. You saw her trying to pull her hands away, but it was just too little too late. As you said, Andrew, exit velocity, something we'd like to see on this game, and apparently the ball travels faster than sound when it comes off the hand of Sydney Bent.
Legree tried to go for the delay, and they're calling the ball as tipped. Alicia Bennett not happy with that one. We've already seen some warnings issued out, so things got to kind of slow down here if we want, again, this game to kind of finish out the way that we wanted to.
All of Brandeis seemingly amazed at something that I think was a pretty textbook call. Verstovshek not thinking that she hit that one, but off of Farragher's hand, that ball was going down and then ended up. That doesn't happen unless some sort of contact is made. We know it didn't happen to the net. The net's standing perfectly still. Had to have hit someone, and I mean, physics speaks for itself on that one.
So both middles now getting the opportunity to serve. It seems like Steph Lee will not get her chance behind the line. Verstovshek with swagger, finishing off another kill. That is now 18 kills, 19, I'm sorry, for Lara Verstovshek.
And that's the change that she needed to take right there. She had been taking these cross-court shots, trying to go for angles and getting beat there. Double, yeah.
It was a low pass from Cunningham, not used to having to pick up a receive from the front row. And Inez Grom-Mantinko will get another serve.
Yeah, great playing there. Served the ball short towards the middle, forced them to make a play. Surprised they didn't go right back to it.
They're going to Golden in the middle. And Ariana Jackson will send it right back.
The middles might not be hitting threats from Brandeis, but oh, best be sure that they are indeed blocking threats. Jackson just perfectly timing, perfectly reading the motion from Golden there. Had her read like a book.
Cunningham finds a spot. That was an 11-4 Brandeis run to get themselves a lead at 17-16. The Jumbos get a much-needed momentum shift off of a nice kill. And they'll go with some of the rotations. Steph Lee back into the game, as well as Zoe Gregory and Maya Lightfoot.
Lightfoot with some shifty movements there around you, noticing a wet spot on the court. And when that's right into her path, taking her approach, trying to get swings, definitely don't want to see that one there. It would absolutely be the worst thing you could imagine for the Jumbos if Maya Lightfoot had no block up against her, taking that path in towards the back one ball and then slipped.
We're all evened up at 17. Verstovshek finds Lee. Lightfoot again is denied, and Steph Lee almost got herself another kill. Jackson with a nicely placed shot, but it yields an overpass. And Lara Verstovshek getting into kill number 20.
Swing from the right side, block on the outside, and then discipline on the net from Verstovshek. Doing it all to give herself the opportunity to put the judges even further ahead from the service line.
Now Verstovshek heads back to serve. Jumbo's surely happy that they get the opportunity to deal with her, at least from the back row, with Emerson White entering the game. And we're all back even at 18. Megan Harrison back to serve. Gregory looks for Lightfoot, and a beautiful placement there on the roll shot. Getting right over the blocker's hands and onto the floor, right in the middle of the court. Timeout called. Alicia Bennett wants to talk things over as the Jumbos find themselves with a 1-point lead.
Yeah, that's exactly the time to take the timeout. I mean, you clawed back this deficit. You highlighted, Andrew, 11-4 run in favor of the judges to tie everything at 17. Jumbos now up 19-18. But regardless as to that, why that was the perfect time to call the timeout is what had been keeping you alive is the fact that you had been making incredible digs behind some stellar blocks from Verstovshek. Now that she's in the back row, you need her to play equally as good defense, and that ball just finding the middle of the court, it shouldn't always be on bent to be making these diving plays. Granted, if she's going to keep getting it up, you're going to roll with it every time. But you can't expect her to do that every single time, especially when it's an attack from the right side and she's on the complete opposite side of the court. She doesn't even have the angle running in on the ball to try and make a diving play all the more effective. She needs to dive behind her. Far less effective of a route, never going to be able to jump there on time, as was just indicated. She went for it, couldn't pick it up, and you had everyone in the back line not move a muscle.
The supposed libero slash defensive specialist today, Steph Bohr, and Pereira with 9 digs and 6 digs respectively. Sydney Bent has 27 on the night, combined with 6 kills. Not the most efficient night for her offensively with a hitting percentage of 120. On the other side, Stephanie Lee, of course, also matching with 27. I mean, These two girls have really been showing their stuff on the defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the highlighting points for each opposing team. Verstovchik swinging cross court, who's there, Stephanie Lee. Any jumbo right side hitter swinging cross court, who's there, Bent.
And net called on Emerson White. I believe, 4-ball touched. As it seems like Lightfoot didn't get a hand on that one on the block. Or the attempted block, at least.
Well, she did get a hand on it for the block. It's just the block was completely irrelevant. You had 3 contacts made before White went to put it over because you did not have a block come in from Jackson. It was just a contact. So instead of it being, 2 and then 2 the block and then the contact, it was just 3.
Sydney Bent again delivers. There's just no opportunity after that partial block. You saw it, Megan Harrison just kind of lift her arms in the air. I mean, what's she going to do with that one, sailing way over her head?
There's not a whole lot you can do with it. You jump, you pray, you hope to make the play.
And this time with a really nice receive, diving over, bit of an overpass, but the Jumbos will get the recovery. Audette will send it back as Lai will give the Jumbos a free ball. And they'll call it just out of bounds. Both line judges seemingly in agreement there.
The ball was too fast for me to see.
You saw Lightfoot.
Props to the line judge for being able to figure out where that ball went. I had no clue.
And another ace, this time for Lara Verstovchik. Had 25 service aces coming into the season, and now the Brandeis judges have a 21-20 lead in the third set. Cora Thompson calling the timeout.
Yeah, and in some of our talks with some of the jumbo volleyball players, what they've highlighted is the ability of Coach Thompson to really keep her players mentally in the games. In the 5-set win that they had against Colby, we had talked to Maya Lightfoot. They were down 2-0, came back and reverse swept. I know you were there for that one, Andrew.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the great things about having such an experienced coach like Cora Thompson is your ability to just mentally stay in games even if you are losing. So down 1 point in a very competitive third set, this is not in a, game-winning set. This is just to put someone on that, threshold of about to take the third set, win the game. Regardless, the Jumbos don't want to be down 2-1. They don't want to play another 5-set game against a solid opponent. They'd prefer to just be out of here in 4. So Coach Thompson taking the timeout here. You saw all the other coaches talking to some individual players off to the sideline, but Coach Thompson right in there, keeping her team in it, guiding them as she should. And it's just one of the great things that you have from her as a coach is this just steady rock, keeping the girls, emotionally invested in every single point and not just, rolling over and saying there's another one after us.
Yeah, and you always see Thompson, giving her players some space at the start of the timeout to kind of talk things over themselves before she kind of goes in there to work out a game plan. Jumbos need a point to get back into this set, and they will even up the score at 21 off of a nice place shot from Christine Audette.
Yeah, and when you are in these later points, trading blows back and forth, it's not necessarily the hardest kill that wins, it's just the smartest kill that wins. And Audette is one of the better tippers for the Jumbos, and right there showcasing exactly why, able to find a hole and make someone take just an awkward defensive play.
White shot goes out of bounds. Brandeis was looking for a call there from the referees as this has gotten very, very tight down the wire here.
We're going to make a substitution here. Look for some more experienced outside hitting. As you had highlighted earlier, Andrew, White not the usual outside hitting starter. They're going to go back to their normal one here in Urtezchek.
And Sydney Bent just running circles around the Jumbo defense when that moment matters most. You saw her jump in the air. You thought it was going to be an authoritative swing down. Just a nice little tip, and it just is too much for the Jumbos in the front to handle.
Yeah, and that's something that gets underplayed a lot in volleyball is you know that every player in their toolkit has the ability to swing hard and the ability to tip. But the real difference maker, what distinguishes the best volleyball players from just, your average mediocre volleyball player, is the ability to disguise which one is which. And in the case of Bent, she always goes up, drawing her hand back, ready to take that aggressive swing, and then at the last second drops her elbow in and is able to get under the ball for an effective tip. It makes it really difficult for a block to read, makes it really difficult for a defender to read, and you also have the added advantage of that defender not being Stephanie Lee.
And the pass just a little bit over there by Gregory, and Audette was unable to get that ball into the right spot. Brandeis jumping back out in front, and they have their best server behind the line. Gregory with a nice recovery. Audette will send it back over. They go with Bent again. But I don't know, did any jumbo touch that, or was that a block, or did it just hit the net?
That just went right into the top of the tape. Everybody in the room kind of knew exactly what was going to happen on that play. You never want to be predictable as a setter. And the problem when you do make these substitutions, someone who hadn't played the entirety of the 40-somewhat points that were played before Urtezcek got in, you kind of expect the ball not to go back to her 2 times in a row, especially when she did get dug out as effectively as Megan Harrison did. So everyone kind of knew that the ball was going to go back to Bent. The block was there. The defense was set up perfectly in case the block wasn't able to work effectively. And Bent under pressure just can't get that one over.
Oh, the setter dump yields an overpass, but Legree is right there.
No better time for a house than the present. 24-23, the Jumbos go up. The timeout worked perfectly. They got re-energized, came back into it smart and effectively. And in the one-on-one matchup, Grace Legree taking it home right there for the Jumbos, threatening going up 2-1 against the judges.
Grace Legree now with 4 blocks, one of them solo, as we just saw right there. Also with 12 kills. A very efficient night for her, hitting 500. Things are going really well, all things considered here for the Jumbos.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all of the stats that are pouring in from the lovely workers at the table over here in Medford, everything's kind of working really well for them. You know, you do have that one downside, and Tori Golden is hitting negative. But even with that being the case, it's just her blocking presence against Sydney Bent, which is really what you brought her in for. She does have a height advantage over Janelle Yarwood. So maybe the transition is not necessarily for a more aggressive or a different look offensively. Maybe it's just to get the better blocking in.
Again, shout out to all the people working behind the scenes, both our crew here at JumboCast, as well as some other people around. Got some JumboCast alumni, Andrew Anderton, working the PA. That was before your time, I guess, Jordan. But an absolute staple on the mic here at JumboCast.
I've only ever heard good things.
Also, our social media manager, Ethan Grublich, he's in attendance tonight. Just enjoying some nice Tufts volleyball. Jumbo's at set point. Maddie Yu onto the serve. White finds a beautiful spot, and we are back to even. Another deuce for both of these teams. The second set in which we are tied up at 24.
I guess after the timeout, the judges went for a substitution and Urtezcek out. Must have missed it, but regardless, it ended up being the smarter decision there. You do have the better, smarter player in White, at least over the course of this game, come in, and she made the play when it counted the most.
And Verstavcek really looking for that kill all across the line, but the line judge this time working in favor for the Jumbos. Bennett not happy with that, as the referees have had a really tough, set of calls to make. It was a very close game, and a lot of really close calls have to be made. And these 50-50s, you know that one of the coaching staffs are not going to be super happy either way. Another set here for the Jumbos. There's Verstavcek with a strong kill. Audette tried to send it over, but we are once again tied up at 25.
Well, you saw Grace Legree getting just beat out there in the middle. thinking that the setter was going to go over. That is one of the perks of having the front row setter, is you do have the ability for the setter dump, and when you need a point desperately, maybe that's when you consider going for it. Legree trying to make the hero play ends up giving a one-on-one matchup in the outside.
Lee on the receive. Yu over to Golden. They'll try for Verstovchik again. Golden with another opportunity, this time getting the better of Bent. And the Jumbos again with another set point.
That's one of those games of what you can do, I can do better right there. We've seen so many aggressive swings come out from Verstovchik. Another one going right there, but the defense from the Jumbos too much. They pick that one up, and they give their own outside and Tori Golden a chance to put that one down, and she puts it down right with authority to the girl pushing 30 digs in one game alone. That's one heck of a matchup to win.
Golden doing good work as that outside hitter for this third set. And it's just incredible, Jordan. Brandeis knows what's happening. The judges know what's going to happen. The Jumbos know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen. That ball is going over to Verstovchik, and it just doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah, she's on fire. She's really found herself in these later points of every set, and that's the type of momentum that you like to see come out of her as the game continues.
Right back to their outside. Maddie Yu diving to collect the dig. Verstovchik continues to call for it, but this time they'll go to Bent. The Jumbos didn't try to pick the ball up. They were looking for an out-of-bounds call.
They're going to go and confer with the line judges here.
Now, were they looking for the antenna or for the net?
They were looking for the antenna. They're looking for where the antenna meets the net to see if that's where it hit. The line judge is going to say that I believe he's arguing that it did stay in bounds. All of the Jumbos thought it went out, which is why there was no play off of second contact from Stephanie Lee. After conferring, it will go the other way. They will say that the ball went out of bounds, and what could have been a drastic play for the Jumbos ends up working out really well from them there. You know. Yeah. You get taught play to the whistle, so even if you are right in, Tori Golden saying that ball was out of bounds, you play to the whistle every time. And not going out and not going over to make that play is not what you want to see, even if you do end up, staring down the ability to go up 2-1, up 27-26. It's still not necessarily a great position to be in. It took a conference to win you that last point.
To be fair, it would have been pretty difficult to get that dig as it was nearing the seats right there. But the Jumbos now with another set point. I believe their fourth of the set. And the shot from Bent sails out of bounds. The Jumbos able to pick that one up. I believe that sailed into the basketball net. That was over back in the corner. We'll see some Tufts basketball in a couple weeks. But right now, the focus is on the Tufts Jumbos and how they barely eke out that third set with a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, I mean, not to rag on Brandeis, that's just not the right decision to make there. Ben's back in the front row, and even if you are taking the approach that Verstovchik is going to get red, you can't force the ball to a lefty on the outside. We saw exactly what happens there when you do that. The lefty cannot hit the line shot. The block then can cheat in and take away the hard angles, and that forces an even harder angle to be taken from Bent. No matter how much force, no matter how hard she can hit the ball, just the angle is never going to line up, and that ball's either going to need to hit the tee perfectly where Stephanie Lee is standing to dig it up if it is going there, or it's going to go right out of bounds. I just really think that was a bad decision there from Brandeis. I think you give it to Verstovchik, you have her just roll shot that one over and maybe play less aggressive so that you can reset to the matchups that you like more, with Verstovchik on the outside and Bent winning the matchup all throughout that third set on the right side.
An interesting decision. Of course, Bent not having the greatest night offensively despite her incredible efforts on the other end with now 28 digs. But now has 6 errors on 8 kills. The total of 30 swings. That's a hitting percentage of .067, which is, of course, never where you want to be. And yeah, Verstovchik, again, leading the way here with 22 kills. Nobody else on the judges in double figures.
Andrew, if I'm looking over at some things right now, obviously you got to highlight the 22 kills coming out from Verstovchik. I mean, the next highest in the game is Grace Legree with 12. That's 10 more that Verstovchik has over any Jumbo player. But the other thing that I'm noticing is you have Verstovchik has 65 attempts, Bent has 30, and no other judge has anything more than 15. when your offense can only be run through 2 girls, they need to be running at peak efficiency, not in the position where they were in that last set, where you had the opening couple of points from Verstovchek. She wasn't swinging well. She was getting blocked, roll shots all throughout, not being as aggressive. And in the end game, Bent not being able to get the correct read on plays, being too aggressive when the smarter play is just to reset and work your offense how you want to work it. Either one of those is not a necessarily great thing for this team, especially when they really only have 2 main hitting threats and the occasional appearance coming out from one of the other outside hitters.
Yeah, when you take a look at who else can potentially play a role here on the offensive end for the judges, there's not really a whole lot of options in terms of what's worked so far. Both middles in Lion Jackson are in the negatives. And of course, you look at White as maybe being another potential opportunity. She has 5 kills, but 3 errors for a total hitting percentage of 133. So nobody above 150 outside of Verstovchek, and of course some other people here like Pereira, who's had 1 kill on 2 attempts. And as that defensive specialist, you're not expecting her to start to, jump up and start swinging.
Yeah, excellently put there, Andrew. We're going to see some lineups start to come out. And I think we're going to see the same thing that we saw in set number 3. It was a great adjustment that Brandeis had made, swapping the front 3 with the back 3. And they're going to make yet another change, I believe. No, it's still the exact same thing. I stand corrected. I thought Bent was standing in the back row initially. I believe the Jumbos will not have the serve here, so they want Bent to have serve first, so they ticked up a rotation. Also made, now here is the change. Swapping out the middles here are the judges. Jumbo's rolling with the exact same lineup, but the judges did continue to roll with their inverted lineup, where you have Verstovchek matched up against Riley Farragher for 2 rotations, and then Maya Lightfoot for 1, so the weaker blocker of the Jumbos, and you have Bent matched up against, I believe it's going to be Audette as opposed to Tori Golden.
We start off the 4th here. Overpass coming on the Brandeis side. Grace Legree with 2 hands sends it authoritatively down to the floor.
Yeah, you had a great up there by one of either Bent or Wayner, whichever one it was. Great job to get that one up off of the overpass move flick down from Audette, but they kept it right up against the net as opposed to pulling it back. It's one of those small things that's really difficult to do in the moment. So props to them just for getting the first one up, but the second one, great play by Legree.
Ron Manson-Cole looks over to the likes of Sydney Bent. And that is how the judges will get their first point here in this 4th set. Sydney Bent looking to up that efficiency a little bit with their 31st swing, resulting in a kill.
Yeah, she put it into a great spot right there. You did have Audette coming off of the serve, was a little bit close to Maddie Yu. Neither one of them really able to discern who was going to make the play on the ball, and at the last second, Audette realized it's got to be me. But she figured it out too late. We're going to see a towel come out right now after that one.
We're going to need that towel. It's definitely was seemingly prepared and all set to go and just falling onto the floor. Happens to the best of us, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the floor just gave out underneath her, and she's all smiles about it.
Almost like a trap door, kind of sending her into the abyss. Looks like she'll be all right, testing it out with those sneakers to make sure that she has enough traction.
Yeah, I have to wonder, Andrew, since this is the same gym that the basketball team plays in, you know how they have those mops for whenever a player goes down? I have to imagine that at some point, someone's got to ask for just a quick cleaning.
I'm looking around. There is a mop there on the Brandeis side, so potentially. Grace Legree has been incredibly efficient so far tonight and has put off swing after swing of just absolute perfection. Now it's 15 kills.
Yeah, the 31 ball, it's her bread and butter all season long, all throughout her career. That's the ball that she likes the most. She gets the best looks at it, the best movement across her body, looking towards the court, and always just works out.
White with a big kill right there. Cunningham and Farragher jumped up to block it, but they were just not high enough as it lands right on the back line.
Another towel.
I'm feeling some good vibes here from Brandeis right now, Jordan. You can see communications working well. Verstovchek ended off that 3rd set at an absolutely incredible pace. I mean, I would not be surprised if we're headed to 5.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're trading blows back and forth throughout this fourth set, 5 just kind of seems inevitable. And you have to imagine that with an experienced coach like Brandeis has for them in their corner, Tori Golden, smart play, working back and forth. Again, trading blows. Brandeis wins one, the Jumbos win one. As I was saying, though, when you do have a coach like Coach Bennett for Brandeis, she is a very experienced, 12 years as a coach, on top of being an All-American player at Springfield. She was, in fact, inducted into their Athletic Hall of Fame this year for her performance that she had as a volleyball player over there. You have to imagine that the same thing that applies to Coach Thompson also applies here, where she can just keep her team in it, even if you lose a tough one like set number 3.
Can you believe that this team is 0-7 in conference play? They have yet to win a set against their conference opponents. It goes to show just how strong the UAA really is. Because Brandeis is absolutely no joke. Put up a fight against a ranked opponent as Maya Lightfoot's shot hits the antenna.
Make no mistake on that one. You had a little bit of struggle figuring out whether or not that ball went into the antenna. The last time that the line judge had to make a call, that one he's going to make the call authoritatively, make sure that everyone in the gym knows that he saw that one, and just pick up for what was a break in play in the previous set.
Golden this time going for a cross, but again, not being able to find the mark, landing out of bounds this time for Tori Golden.
Just wasn't able to get on top of that one. The key part of hitting, which makes the ball go down and gives it force, is the snap over the ball. That's what gives it the topspin. Golden just driving her hand through that one instead of getting on top of it.
Quick attack, Cunningham from Zoe Gregory.
Speaking of
get ready
on
for
top
that.
of it,
we're going to be seeing that for at least another couple of years.
I mean, that's one of the great things that you get out of running the 6-2 is you open up 2 more players who are going to play every single time that your team goes out there on the court, and having one of those players be a freshman is just going to be great experience for Gregory down the road, going to be great, valuable asset for the Jumbos as the program continues.
Oh, man. Versavchek is still feeling it right now.
Yeah, we heard the boom on that one up here. That was that ball was hit very well from Versavchek, and that's what she's been doing well all throughout this game. You know, she's been taking these aggressive swings on top of some roll shots, but once her swing gets going, she just keeps swinging hard and hard and hard.
Lightfoot is dug out by Bohr. They'll go with Versavchek again, this time on the roll shot. Audette looks for the cross. This time, Grahn-Mansinkel looks over to Bent with power, with responsibility, with another kill.
Yeah, and you're starting to see what you get when you do have these 3 hitters in the front row. This was the matchup that you wanted. You wanted Bent versus Audette. That's why you flipped the lines. You have the smaller block of Audette as opposed to that of Tori Golden, and Bent just utilizing it to the max right there.
Lightfoot shot is able to be recovered as Versavchek sends it over, but now a nice opportunity for the Jumbos. Lightfoot tries again with a little bit more power, and Lee sends it up for Audette. Another big block from the right side. Lightfoot and Cunningham combine for the rejection.
Yeah, they started to just say, okay, Bent, you can have your one-on-one matchup, because we know, we've seen the stats. We see the ball's going to go to Versavchek. Cora Cunningham cheating over means that block will be closed every single time. As soon as she gets there, her right hand right next to Lightfoot's left hand, any swing that goes anywhere between the 2 wingspans is going down.
You wonder if Bent will start to get more opportunities here as Jackson almost finds a nice spot. Now free ball over to Brandeis, unless it sails out of bounds. It was a tough play overall for the Jumbos, but Brandeis now jumping out to the lead.
Just off play there from Lightfoot. It's one of the rough plays of the game to have to pass over your head and behind you, especially when you're looking up the entire time to try and track the ball. You don't know where you are positionally on the court. Lightfoot just tries to get it over, puts it out of bounds. It's one of those oh well plays, and right now you're just happy that Versavchek's in the back row.
Steph Lee has had a number of these overhand attacks so far today. Audette is dug out by Bohr. Versavchek from the back row. And an overpass from Lee. Not something you see too much every day, as Emerson White will capitalize with another kill.
Yeah, White's been one of the strongest points at the net for the judges, and what you saw there was Stephanie Lee jumping in front of Harrison, not necessarily her ball to get. Meg Harrison was lined up perfectly to just give that one a pass, but Stephanie Lee wanted it, took it, and just misplayed it.
And Verstavchek puts her hands up in rejoice as she collects another service ace. That is her first of the day. And some mishandling from what seems to be a very effective defensive setup right now for the Jumbos. Oh, and Gregory tries her hand at a setter dump. Verstavchek has some power, but just wide of the line it goes. And the Jumbos get a much-needed point as they'll get the service back in their favor with Ewan Farragher entering the game.
That's just not a play that you want to see the judges make right there. They have plenty of offensive power at the line, but they keep trying to force the ball to Verstavchek. You have her taking a swing from the back row. She's going to try to put a little bit more on it, but when you're swinging as powerfully as she is, a little more translates to a lot of distance. That one just sails right out of bounds, kills her service run, and puts the momentum in favor of the Jumbos.
Grace Legree saving that one as Grom Mansinkle ends it in on 2, but this time Grace Legree will capitalize. That is now, I believe, kill number 15 for Grace Legree. The Jumbos are now just 1 point away from tying this game back up. And White combined with Bohr, unable to get that ball over in time. Stephanie Bohr with a receiving error there as Maddie Yu continues to really impress behind the line. Bent is blocked, but somehow Emerson White is able to save it, and it lands right into the back right corner.
I can't tell if Coach Thompson is shocked at the fact that none of her players went to go get the ball, or the fact that that ball managed to stay in bounds. That was spinning to the left. That should have been moving all the way over. Somehow just Emerson White sticking her hands up in the air manages to keep that one alive.
The Jumbos a little bit sloppy with some of their serve receives so far in this fourth set. Another powerful shot comes in from Bent. Audette will deliver.
And that's Audette's shot that she just loves to take so often. She goes up, takes a little bit of power off of it, but always swings for where the seam should be. And if the seam isn't there, just the way that she takes her approach and the amount of side spin that she puts on that shot when she takes it, even if the seam isn't there and the ball isn't going through and going right towards whoever is playing that back right position for the judges, or any team that she plays against really, it somehow finds off of hands and just keeps coasting out of bounds. She just gives it the perfect amount of side spin to get a little bit of contact and send it out of play.
Well, that was a nice float. And Verstavchek hits the net, which normally means good things for the judges, but this time it sails out of bounds. Good call by Golden and the rest of the Jumbos to get the service right back into their hands.
You saw the little hezzy from Tori Golden. She went to go make a play and then just pulled her hands back, realizing it was out of bounds. It's one of the great things that you get from the back row attacks is you can pull a defender, your pin defenders back against the line to watch whether or not it's out of bounds.
Golden with a powerful shot right into Bohr's hands, but they fly straight into the net.
One of the things that we haven't talked about a whole lot over the course of this game, Andrew, is the fact that the best defensive player for Brandeis is not either of their libero or their defensive specialist. It is Sydney Bent. Now, what that means is obviously she's going to be a defensive force.
Blocked by White. As the Jumbos will get that one, I believe, hitting the antenna once again.
So Bent going to be a strong point defensively, but it also means that you don't need to feel as threatened hitting the ball towards the libero if you are the Jumbos attackers. Same thing applies to serving as they do right there. You're not expecting as great of a pass as you would if you gave that ball, wow, to that girl.
I think you got to start feeding it to her a little bit more, Jordan.
Yeah,
Sydney Bent. 11 kills now. She's starting to ramp the numbers back up here in this fourth set.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, you said it best. The Jumbos are reading the balls going to Verstavchek, and even though she's, performing excellently, knowing that she's going to have all this pressure against her, you can still give the ball to Bent. I mean, when she swings like that, it's kind of hard not to.
Now with 11 kills on 36 attempts. Things going a little bit more in her favor now. Hitting 139, was previously coming into the fourth at about 0.60. 3-point lead for the Jumbos as Grace Legree goes back to serve. Yu looks to Golden, perfectly placed and over the top of the blockers.
Again, the judges are just forcing the ball to Verstovchek when they have no need to do it. The Jumbos took a great offensive plan there with the serve in their hands. You serve to the opposing best hitter, and you try and take them out of the play so that they can't swing. If you're the judges, you've been playing volleyball long enough, your coach has been playing and coaching long enough that you should know that you don't give the ball right back to that player. They're never going to get to position in time unless they give such a sky ball that they're able to reset. At that point, I don't understand why the ball isn't just being put the way of Emerson White. Her last swing that she had was beautiful. Right on top of the ball, over the block, found the floor, she got herself a kill. They just seem to have no faith in any of the hitters who aren't named Sydney Bent or Lara Verstovchek.
You see Emerson White trying to be a factor at times, but it really just has kind of been a two-woman show for the judges so far. Verstovchek with 23 kills now, combined with Bent's 11. So we finally have two people in double digits here for the judges. We haven't seen Stephanie Lee behind the service line in the past couple of sets, Jordan. We've seen both middle blockers get their hand at the serve.
Yeah, I think that was a change that isn't necessary, but is definitely one that you can make pretty easily. You're still going to have Lee in there defensively. You don't need to waste any substitutions for it, and you know that both of your middles can serve. And the biggest part of Lee's game has always been the short serves, and when those aren't working, maybe you need to change it up.
White is blocked. Cunningham and Farragher combine once again. I always love the celebrations from the Tufts bench.
They're one of the most entertaining benches in all of sports, not even just volleyball, just all of sports to watch. They have so many just calls and dances that they do, whether it's the biking machine, the bench press, they just got it all, and they're so entertaining to watch.
5-point lead opening up for the Jumbos as they want to close this set out in 4. Bent on the cross. Yu sets up for Farragher, and it lands right out of bounds. Nice call from Verstovchek.
What you don't want to see from the Jumbos is now that they have a lead after, trading points back and forth and 2 close sets in the first and the third, is you don't want to see them start to get lazy. You want to see them still play with the same authority, play as if it's 24-24, and you need to win 2 in a row in order to win the game.
Good defensive setup now as Boer, Pereira, and Bent are all in the back row. Riley Farragher delivers once again. She is having herself a night. 12 kills, very efficient, as well as 5 digs for this right side hitter.
Yeah, she might not have the same amount of power behind her swing as Maya Lightfoot or Sydney Bent, but damn if she isn't efficient. Just smart placing of the ball. Every shot is in her toolkit, and she just busts everything out every game, and it's always a pleasure to watch.
Golden is dug out by Boer. Grommensenko looks over. As Bent will just give the Jumbos a free ball. Lightfoot on the right side. All the right sides can do the work right now, Jordan, as Maya Lightfoot gets herself into the double-digit mark as well. That's her 10th kill.
Yeah, and we were curious as to what it means when Bent is the best defender. How do you approach that type of a caliber of player? Former D1 player. How do you approach playing against her? And it seems like the answer for the Jumbos is we don't care who it is. We're going to keep running our game how we want to run it. If she beats us, so be it. We'll just keep reset. We'll get the ball back, we'll reset, and we'll go from there. And that's exactly what they're showcasing. And the more that they've done it, the more that they've beaten Bent.
Shot from Rita Lai sails out of bounds. Not used to working there on that slide. The Jumbos really starting to get some momentum, and Brandeis needs to call some time because the game is on the line right here.
Yeah, this is exactly where the Jumbos wanted to be. They're in a prime position to win the game. They're now up 7, need 6 to win. And it just seems like Brandeis went from being extremely competitive, the same way that they were in the first set, to the same way that they were in the second set, where now everything is just far more easy to read. The passes aren't being made to, make other hitting options viable. The ball is being forced to Verstovchek, and it's being read. Bent is still going to be Bent. She's going to take swings when she takes them, and I think the Jumbos are happy to let her get kills every now and then. If, the trade-off of her getting 1 kill is you going on a 4-serve service run.
And again, shout out to this Brandeis volleyball program. They've been very good outside of being in conference. They're 10-5 against opponents not in the UAA, putting up a very good fight against a ranked opponent once again here in the Jumbos.
Yeah, they are by no means a bad volleyball team. They are getting beat a little bit by the fact that their in-house competition is some of the best competition that's in Division III volleyball right now. But they've shown that they can compete, right? Even if it's, not necessarily, you highlighted, don't have a set win against any of their opponents in the conference. Even when, that isn't the case, they're still playing a very good team in the Jumbos right now, and they're being competitive. If you gave this group of girls more time together, I think they'd be one heck of a group.
19-12 in favor of the Jumbos. Verstovchek still got by Lee. Gregory looking over to Golden. The push right outside the line. Golden in disarray. You thought that she really thought that she had that one.
Yeah, Tori Golden likes to work 2 or 3 of those in per game, where she'll go up and she'll never even turn her body towards the ball to swing. She'll just push it right back to the opposing outside hitter. She really loves that shot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That one she was going to put it right on the line, which, yeah, I mean, no outside hitter's ever going to go for it, so it's very much in your favor to take it.
And Lightfoot with an authoritative blow. Pereira's dig sailing out of bounds, and the Jumbos are only 5 points away from closing this match out.
Taking a 20-13 lead off of the beautiful swing from Maya Lightfoot. You see it from her all the time, whether it's from the right side or the outside. When she gets on top of a ball, it becomes very difficult to dig that one out.
Audette with a strong swing, but it's blocked. Aaron Jackson contributed, and also the setter, Grom Mansinkel, doing a good job as well. She had 6 blocks coming into tonight, and she can kind of do it from the defensive end at all angles.
Well, upsides here for the judges. You now have Bent back in the front row, becomes a better offensive tool than if she was swinging from the back row. The downside of it is, well, obviously that's a big downside. You don't like to see defensive errors like that, especially when the other team has 20 points. At that point, like, every point matters. I said point a lot in that sentence, but it is just how it works. You can't be making mistakes like that, because now if you get the ball back, Verstovchek's in the back row again. They cycled through her rotations where she was in the prime position where they wanted her way too quickly. Now you need 3 rotations for her to get back. That puts the Jumbos at 24 before she becomes a front row option again. They really need to get on a run right now in order to get to the positions that they liked in the first set and in the third set that kept them competitive and pushed it to extra points.
Looking to see Bent become a factor here offensively or defensively on the block as well. Jackson over to Grom Mansinkel, and Sydney Bent, but Sydney will not break. Another nice kill coming out from the right side hitter.
Yeah, just great roll shot. You know, we've seen her absolutely rip balls, and on that last one, you didn't need to. She just needed to play it smart. You didn't. Maya Lightfoot was standing way too far back. She was trying to play off of the block. I believe it's Zoe Gregory was standing behind her, just also wasn't able to get there in time. And it's just the smarter version of volleyball right now. You don't need to play as aggressively, and that's some of what the veteran leadership you get out of Bent is. You have obviously the ability to be this offensive powerhouse with just overwhelming swings and beautiful blocks from the right side, but you also have some of the smarter volleyball knowledge that every good program needs.
That's Bent's 12th kill of the night. Stavchuk with 23. Down the middle goes Audette. They're going to look for Bent again, but this time she is absolutely denied. Christine Audette and Grace Legree combined forces to reject the shot out of the former D1 All-Conference.
Brandeis made the switch so that Bent could have the matchup against Audette. Bent won round 1, Audette won round 2, and it seems like there might not be a round 3 as the Jumbos are about to run away with this game.
And another receiving error coming out from the judges. Maddie Yu certainly a tough receive, but Brandeis gonna need to pick some of these up. We'll look to Jackson in the middle, as Lee will set up Farragher. Some nice digs coming out from Bourne now. They'll go over to Bent, but another block coming out from Legree and Audette. And just a bit of an error this time coming out from Ertizchek. And after such a strong back and forth point, the Jumbos are at set and match point.
I highlighted it earlier. The best hitter for the judges was in the back row, and that's not where they wanted to be with the Jumbos staring down, taking away the game, and just ending it right there. And what that means is, you know, we've been talking about forcing the ball over to some of the better hitters that the judges have, and when you're at this point where it was 23-16, you can't be doing that. It's just too predictable, so they went and they changed it up, but they changed it up to someone who had only seen 3 attempts all game.
Bent shot sails out of bounds, and the Tufts Jumbos will come away with a 3-1 victory over the Brandeis judges.
They lost the first one. They won the next 3. There was some damn good volleyball played here today, Andrew, but at the end of the day, the Jumbos were just too good. Lose one, but don't lose the game. They come back. They played some competitive sets, some not so competitive sets, and at the end of the day, they walk away with the win.
A good challenge coming out for the Jumbos here, as of course Brandeis, a very formidable squad. Jumbos will wrap up their regular season with 2 road NESCAC matchups with Connecticut College and Bowdoin. On the other side, Brandeis will look to finish things off on their conference of a very middling but overall successful season. Of course, Lariver, Stavchuk, and Sydney Bent, both being incredibly effective players here today, combining for 35 kills and 43 digs. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Jordan Burke will be back with a post-game interview with one of the victorious members of the Tufts Jumbos.
Going hammocking. I don't know.
It's only volleyball.
Yeah, I'm on lock right now. Sudoku puzzles.
Crosswords. Baking cookies. Walking Murr the Golden Retriever from a club that I'm in at Tufts. Just traveling together and being together outside of volleyball.
Probably winning that Johns Hopkins game.
Beating JH last year.
Johns Hopkins.
Winning the Johns Hopkins game.
Or the Hopkins one. Getting ramen in St. Louis.
No.
No, because the bread's connected.
No.
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 Sure. Nope.
I'm gonna throw a lightning round.
We've learned a lot from him, and we've probably learned more from him than he's learned from us.
I think they're a real important part in my life. I can't describe it. It feels amazing.
Team Team Impact is a national nonprofit that connects kids living with serious and chronic illness with college athletic teams, forming lifelong bonds and life-changing outcomes.
Give me a break it! Break it!
Can I have a hug? What's your favorite subject?
Math.
When you spread the word about Team Impact, you have the power to change lives.
Hello and welcome back. I am Jordan Burke, joined here by Maddie Hughes, junior setter for the Tufts Jumbos. Maddie, you guys had a rough loss against MIT, going down in straight sets, and then you come into this game where the key player for the opposing team is a former D1 second team, all in her division back in Notre Dame player in Sydney Bent. What was the mentality coming into this one after the hard loss and knowing that you were going to play some tough competition?
I think, they played awesome and challenged us really well this match. I think our mentality coming into it and into any game really is just to play our best ball, to always have good ball control, always be able to run our offense. Our mentality is the same every game. Yeah,
and you talked about how, you guys want to play your game of volleyball. You want to have the great defense and the great offenses. And as a setter, that's all facilitated through you. You're a fantastic defender, making hustle plays, diving for balls when you need to, but it's also those assists and the way that you set up hitters like Grace Legree with the patented 31 ball that we've all come to know and love. So as a setter, what does it mean for you having such, valuable defense and hitters behind you that enable you to carry the team with your setting abilities? Yeah, our hitters, our roster is so deep. I mean, you could put any mixture of hitters out there and we could play super, super well. So it's good. I think our ball control is great where I'm able to set the middles, but also I can go to any other pin and
I can trust them to be able to put the ball down. So it's good to have like a lot of options on the front line.
Deep roster and options all the way through, something that has really helped you guys through all the home games that you've had here. You know, we've had the pleasure of watching you guys go, I believe, 9-1 in your home games this season. What does it mean for you guys to be able to, you know, play such great volleyball in front of, you know, home crowds, fans, friends, family, come, you know, some of those weekends that happened in the past?
Yeah, and it feels great to play in front of a home crowd, but I think our bench really makes it. So, you know, wherever we go, our bench really makes it kind of like the home court because we're always showing up both on and off the court.
Yeah, you guys do have an amazing bench. We love some of the things that you guys do, whether it's like the elliptical bike, the bench presses.
Yeah.
It's always super fun to watch, and, you know, it's that energy that we think really does help you guys win games. Maddie, thank you for joining us. It's been fantastic. Congratulations on the win and a great game played today. We're going to throw this one back over to Andrew Howe.
Thank you very much, Jordan. Thank you very much, Maddie, for a spectacular interview. And that's going to do it for tonight and also for our coverage of Tufts volleyball as a whole on the regular season. Of course, on the off chance that there is NCAA tournament play, might be able to see that down the line. But, of course, the NESCAC tournament will be on the PAC network. But our time here for the fall season of Tufts JumboCast is not over just yet, as we will host Hamilton in Ellis Oval this Saturday. Sam Brill and Jared Cohen, as usual, will be on that call. But on behalf of everybody here at Tufts JumboCast, Riley Daniel, Felix Bhattacharya, Ariel Weinstein, and Jordan Burke, I have been Andrew Howe saying so long. Have a wonderful rest of your day.